my religion's just as weird as yours, so I'm not gonna.
We all have our problems. We all have our issues. So I don't know why. I mean, way because I'm now I'm like here and I'm like, whoa.
Hard to stay. Tried so hard to make it work.
So you're married to a planet.
Yes.
Okay.
Ron.
Ron. I mean, I'm professional network plus, but I also healings.org, and it's out of and it started in 2013, and it's alternative cancer. And so Chris Ward, he has an organization, Chris Cancer. So and so he joined the Keaton strong, and so I have had nobody show up. So it's.
Are you familiar with Reiki?
Yes, I
do Reiki.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. So you do what?
We have our chiropractor today. She has a gal with a Reiki, but she also does that's what she does. Energy work. Yes. And exactly. Well, it's just like the right machine. It's radio frequencies.
Oh, right.
You know, so that all of our organs operate at a certain frequency. So when we're off, then that's when disease comes in. That's like walking around this morning.
Yeah.
And it's Dina. Like we have Quayar.
It's Hispanic. My father's Mexican. Yes.
That wasn't your girl. That was me that last night.
Oh, yes, that's my stepdaughter.
Oh my God, she's adorable. Oh my God. So, she reminds me of my cousin's her daughter. Your black. As friendly as can be.
She can be bouncy when she gets. That's funny. What a coincidence.
My daughter's friend that's from Australia had asked me to do one. I told her it's biblically based. It's based on the book of Nehemiah, Broken Restoration. And we don't tell you not to do chemo or radiation. But if you have alternatives, because if you build the body,
Together.
It's a, yeah. So I did that for 3 years for the first pandemic, and I used to hold it at a vegan cafe. A good friend of mine had a vegan cafe, so I introduced them to drinking juices and eating raw and to help the body heal. There's Chris York, and I'm also a health minister with Healthy Acres out of my husband was diagnosed with MS 16 years ago, and he's still on the medications because I chose to. Hey, good. If you can write things in,
So with my daughter, she's on the spectrum, high functioning, but on the spectrum, and her birth mom used a lot of drugs. She did her first 5 years were not good.
she now
9. The first time I put dinner on the table, she didn't recognize, if it didn't come out of a package or out of the microwave or out of the freezer, she didn't recognize it as being food. She still can't name name what's on our plate. Tell me what this is. And she still struggles because it's not real food.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we've started, when we first had her diagnosed, we started with her diet, trying to heal. But I mean, that kind of damage.
Why? When she was forming.
Yes.
Like,
Those neuro. Please do. Yes. Hi.
yeah, it's very important. Well, we went recently. And he drank it. Then I went to Plus Plus, and that's what I take. Supplements that I have. It's fruits and veggies and capsules. Right. I was like, I'm doing that. I put my husband on 5 as much as I can. And now he's down to 1. He's still on the medication. If he was through physical therapy, he'd feel a lot better. But hey, you need a doctor.
Yeah.
I'll work for water, just can't make a drink. I've been trying for 16 years.
I'm Dina. I'm Human Resources out of the tribe.
Oh,
Oh,
hi. I'm Vivica Aldridge, and matter of fact, I have an interview at Moki Case.
for something.
Well, my daughter does the trail rides for Roman Winter and Tanner.
Yeah, the name's not, yeah.
Anyway, they're just so me and my daughter, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're going there and so much. So Las Vegas, born and raised there, had to get out. We escaped from here and a half. Yeah. A lot of people are.
Yeah, I moved here from Washington, D.C. about 4 years ago.
Oh, wow, that's a good. Why did you watch this?
Pardon?
Why did
Why was I there? Oh, why? Oh, no, a suburb. But yeah, it's, they call it the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia Metro. So
everything's so close?
yeah, you don't even know when you're crossing the line. Yeah. But yeah, out there I had a security clearance and, government security and all this, and out here it's like nobody needs me out here. I have nothing. It took a while to find yes.
Yeah, I used to work for the government.
If I can have everyone's attention, hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
And then my daughter got her.
Can everyone hear me? I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, it's great to see so many of you here today. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2022 Raising Kane. And we're happy to meet again in person after taking a year off. So, again, thanks for being here. Please don't go away hungry. Please keep eating. There's plenty of food. We really appreciate the Perry Lodge for providing breakfast this morning. And there's lots of food, lots of good stuff. Thank you. Just want to briefly mention our sponsors. And the summit is provided at a highly reduced rate thanks to our generosity of the sponsors, including the Economic Development Corporation of Utah, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, Kane County Office of Tourism, the Kanab Chamber of Commerce, Kanab City, Kane County, the Dixie Business Resource Center, the Small Business Development Center, and Southwest Tech. So thank you for your sponsorship and generosity. Also want to mention the booths on the perimeter of the room. So please go and visit everybody at the booths. There's a lot of resources and support out there. So I hope that everyone will get to know them. There are resources to help your business grow. So cell phones, you know the drill. I know it's COVID time, COVID protocol, so masks are encouraged. Get vaccinated if you're not, and don't give each other. I guess that's my own counsel. So, developing the program, we wanted to have a good mix of relevant topics, and there's no way to cover all of it, so we had to make some tough decisions and narrow it down. But the purpose of the summit is to get the business community together, get the community together, and which, of course, our business community is the lifeblood of the community. And we want to talk about the important issues and problems that are facing us. In developing the theme of the summit, we recognize the need for us to solve our own problems and determine our own destiny. We need to ignite our success. So we have a packed agenda, and we're doing our best to stay on time. Hopefully there's enough time to network for everyone to get to know each other better, and especially meet new people. That's an important aspect of it. So without further ado, we're going to invite our first speaker to come up. We're happy to have Joe Decker, our Kanab City manager, with us. Kanab City's been experiencing growth at an unprecedented rate, and Joe is on the front lines of dealing with Kanab's challenges. The city manager job is thankless and brutal. He's the catch-all for the city and is dealing with never-ending problems. His favorite show is Storage Wars, I heard. And we're glad to have Joe with us here this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. First, I just want to say thanks for everybody coming out today. If you're not from the area, please spend a little time and visit some of our beautiful scenery that we have and just enjoy the great outdoors that we have here. So I've just got a quick presentation we'll go through, just kind of giving the state of the city of where we're at, where we've been in the last 2 years since we haven't been here last year, and go from there. So, let's see. First slide I've got here, we're going to talk about Kanab City general fund budget. Our budget was up year over year from 2019 to 2020, 13%, from 2020 to 2021, 14%. You can see a majority of our budget out of the $4 million is sales tax revenue. Without the sales tax that we have coming in, we would not be able to provide the services that we do. And then just a hodgepodge off to the side, everything else. Our TRT tax the city collects, property taxes. We have one of the lowest property tax rates in the state for a city, which I think our current council is pretty happy about. But as services continue to grow, revenue is going to have to continue to grow. This talks about our sales and resort tax by themselves. You can see the growth rate that we've had over the last 10 years. It's a continual climb. Just a shade over $1 million that we've collected, which has been great, but it also shows the difference in how busy our community has gotten. So, and that is our transient room tax. You can see we had a pretty good normal growth rate in that, and then 1920 happened. Everybody knows what happens in 1920, right? COVID hit us. Amazingly enough, for our community, and I think the county was in the same boat, COVID didn't hit as hard as we thought it would. We ratcheted back pretty hard and ended up the year pretty good. You can see in the 2021 year, our TRT tax is still low, but it doesn't have to do with the amount of renting of rooms. That is actually based off of the rate that is being charged. So our sales tax went down. I believe occupancy was still pretty well up, but it's just a little bit less than everybody's earning in that situation. As for building in Kanab, and this is just Kanab City, not including the area around us in unincorporated county, you can see our growth rate in building permits. Last year was a record year once again with 146 building permits for Kanab City, and that is both residential and commercial. Our short-term vacation rentals continue to keep climbing. We have 11 bed and breakfasts registered in the state, in the city, and 194 vacation rentals that are licensed with the city. We try to stay on top of this quite hard. We like to have a level playing field for all of our businesses. So if we find out that somebody is not registered, good things are coming with our recreation department. Our recreation director, Danielle Ranty, there's just a handful of the programs that she manages. The Health and Wellness Center has always been a topic of discussion. It seems like we talk about this every year. Previously, this Mayor Houston talked about this. Due to new circumstances between the city and the county, this is gaining traction again. Looks like something's going to happen, and partnership is key in this. We're going to continue to work on that. I can't tell you how big it will be. I can't tell you what it's going to look like. All I can tell you is the talks are starting and negotiations, and something will come of this. So in the future, you'll see more information on that. Another project we're working on with recreation is the archery complex that we're doing. We're trying to decide a good location for this. Our rec director, Danielle, was once again very successful at getting an outdoor rec grant for this to pay for a big portion of it. And we're going to continue to keep working on it. This is an exciting project that not a lot of municipalities do, but I think it's well needed. Next is our police department. It continues to grow. We added 2 officers last year. On the right would be Officer Edwards and Officer Aldrich. Great department we have. They are continuing to get busy as time progresses and we get more visitors. You'll see that in the next slide. One of our big projects we're looking for in the future is building them a new police station. They are in a strip mall right next to the liquor store. So it seems to be a very happening tourist trap. People like to go get pictures of it there. So, but it's a much needed project. It's going to be a new capital project for us. As you can see in their call volume, it continues to grow. In 2021, they had 3,500 calls for the year. And this is a range from anywhere from traffic tickets clear on up to various severe crime. But they do a fantastic job for what they have available to them. Next is our fire department. As once again, you can see call volume continues to grow in that also with our visitors. The big jump between 2020 and 2021 has to do with this next slide. With an agreement with Kane County Hospital, Kanab City was able to provide 24/7 firefighter EMT coverage for the greater Kanab area. So that covers Kanab, Fredonia, and stuff in the unincorporated area of the county and stuff. So now we do have 2 people on shift every day, 24/7, and it's been a great addition to our community. So we'd like to thank the hospital big for that. Next is they continue on their wildland contract. They are contracted with the federal and state government, which pays for a lot of the equipment that the department has. It's very successful. It pays for itself. They do a fantastic job on that. They are all over the United States. Next, we'd like to talk about is our Kanab City attorney that we brought in-house this year. This is Ken Burgraff and his family. He currently lives in Taylorsville, but travels to Kanab through the week and works and goes home. They're planning on relocating into June of this year. So if you see him, we'd like to say thank you, and he does a fantastic job for us. Most people know him because he did work for the county attorney's office years ago before he left to go north. Next is our public works. Some pretty good projects that we've done this year. We have the 600 East Road that was built off of 1100 South up to Chidley Drive, which kind of gave a circle to be able to commute on that side of town. Next, in the 1100 South Realignment down by Kanab Drive. Everybody that's seen that knows how big of a hazard that is. We have awarded the contract on that, and that is to be realigned by April 15th this year. Next is we're just finishing up on our water tank project. It was the largest infrastructure project that Kanab City's ever taken on. We replaced 2 old steel 1.5 million gallon tanks with 2 million gallon concrete tanks on the hill. Along with that, we also did about 6 miles of water line, various hydrants and stuff within town to help increase our water system for the growing that's happening in our community. And then my last slide, I always have to keep because it was a Mayor Houston slide because of this cow. That's all I've got, guys, and thanks, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks, Joe. You know, we liked it when the Kanab City Attorney was right next door to the liquor store and the police station there too. Thank you, Joe. Next, we're going to hear from Commissioner Andy Kent, King County Commissioner. Let's see. Here we are, Andy. Thank you for being here this morning. You know, my dad was a county commissioner in the neighboring county for 3 terms, so I have a lot of empathy for county commissioners and what it takes and all the tough decisions that they get to make every day. It's nonstop, and we really appreciate your civic service. And a lot of people don't know this, but Andy's so sharp you could knit a sweater with him. So thank you, Andy.
Well, thank you all for coming. It's an honor to be part of the program. Commissioner Chamberlain would be here as well. I think he's up in Salt Lake for meetings today. I want to thank Kelly and Camille. They've done a great job of organizing all this. I know it's a lot of work to put this together, but man, they do it as well as anybody. Thank all of you that have traveled for coming down. The weather, I think, is cooperating, so that's nice. Maybe we'll miss the snowstorms. I'm just going to be real brief, but pitch on the county. We love our area. We have one of the most scenic and diverse counties, I think, in the state. A little biased, but man, we have a lot of neat areas. We are really blessed that we have such a great travel and tourism opportunity here that really makes budgeting and providing services and the things that we need comparatively easy compared to what a lot of other counties deal with. So it's kind of scary when your problem is sometimes too many people and how to deal with them all. But we're trying to do our best to manage that and not be the next Moab. That's kind of our inside joke, you know. I don't think it's about it. We think we have a lot of opportunity here. You know, we were the first county in the state to go green back in the early COVID days. We don't believe in mandates and overburdensome regulation. For some people, maybe that is a little offensive, but we try to keep the doors open and the lights on and be business friendly. That's the first thing we think about when we meet and conduct our business as a commission. So, you know, we just don't want to overregulate. We want to make it easy to do the things that we need to do here to keep the wheels turning and the economy moving in the right direction. So we've had a lot of different projects going, some controversial, some less so, but currently we're, like Joe said, we're super excited to partner with the city on the rec center. I think people are going to be really impressed with what we've got in mind there. Once we get the plans developed a little further, we'll get the news out farther. We're still looking at our improvements to our Kingplex area. If you haven't been where our arena is, rodeo arena and all that, we've got big plans to develop. We're excited to be working on a enclosed arena and other facilities to go with that to make it more multi-purpose and multi-seasonal. Super hot summer for August or something when it's, you know, pretty tough to do things outside. We're looking at new events there and then things in the winter when it's cold. Camille's done a great job to bring events and activities that are related to that. So we're really looking forward to growing that complex out there. And we're super excited about our collaborative efforts we've got going with Kanab City as well. So we're working on a county-wide recreation plan. And we want to collaborate and get everybody on the same page, work together. We've restructured our TRT spending this year. You know, COVID scared the heck out of all of us, but it was kind of funny as far as the travel dynamic goes. You know, when foreign travel shut down, we thought, oh man, this is a bad scenario we're looking at in Kane County, but local found us. I mean, the domestic travelers, and it went crazy. You know, everybody else was struggling just to, you know, pay the bills, and Kane County, we were booming the whole time, looking at how to manage crowds. And it'll be a little interesting to see how that transitions back as the domestic travel maybe slows down, which is, we don't know that yet. I mean, so far it's still booming. As international travel returns, it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic looks like going forward. I suspect things are probably permanently changed. You know, we might see a lot more domestic travel as we've kind of been discovered. Pretty interesting to hear some new stuff where a lot of people have their first-time RVs, first-time camp trailers, you know, and they're just figuring it out, trying to get out of the cities, find some place they feel safe. We're glad to welcome them here in Kane County. So I think I probably took enough time. Thanks, Kelly, and now we'll turn it over to the experts that really know what's going on. And thank you all for coming.
We have a lot to be grateful for and a lot of positive things happening. And that leads us into our next session here. Focuses on tourism. I think we all know how important tourism is to our economy. And tourism is the front door to economic development. And no one knows that better than Camille, our tourism director for Kane County. We are lucky to have her representing Kane County. She's a recognized leader in tourism across the state, and she's even the chair of the Association of Counties for Utah of the Tourism Directors this year, which is great. She comes from a long line of famous Johnsons who've been in the area since the first pioneers settled here, and this gives her a unique perspective on tourism, heritage, culture, and economic growth. So, thank you, Camille.
Can't knit with me. That was awesome. All right, let's see. Let's shut down Joe's presentation. My mouse. A little technical difficulty here. We tested this. You know how it goes? You always test it. It always works when you're testing it. The frog's up and you go to do it. Well, I could do an interpretive dance of what I was going to share with you. So you guys can help me with the New Year's resolution. All this is fine. Take a second. A second here. I do come from a ranching family, and so, you know, swear words are earth words to me, and without fail, it seems like when I'm presenting, I'll swear. So if I swear, you guys all have to like, beep, let me know. You're going to help correct my behavior. So, hey, we'll dive in here. So tourism, past, present, and future. It's obviously been an interesting couple of years with the pandemic, and yeah, we haven't been here for 2 years. So I'm a little bit starved to share information with you. And I'm super excited. So Kane County has the 4th highest percentage of tourism-related jobs in the state of Utah. We're kind of neck and neck with Summit County, so sometimes we're 3rd and therefore vice versa. But the other 2 counties that are more tourism dependent are Grand County, Kamala, and then Garfield County, our neighbor to the north. So during the pandemic, obviously it was a wild ride, and when tourism suffers, Kane County suffers because we are so tourism dependent. So I was trying to describe tourism during a pandemic. This is part of it, but this next video I think will properly convey what we've been through.
Everybody gets.
Thank you, little Ruth. Please stay strong. What in the hell was that all about?
That pretty much sums it up. And that's obviously not exclusive to just about wildlife. But I thought I would share a little bit of what went on. You can see where most of the lines are. That's a normal year for us. We definitely are a seasonal destination. The red line is 2020. We definitely had a roller coaster going on there. And then 2020, and the dip that occurred in 2020, the black line, there was a lot of things going on. Gas prices went up, Disneyland was open again, cruises were starting to go. So we saw that people kind of dispersed and started to do a little different travel. But luckily, this is just data based off our hotels. What occurred with our vacation rentals was quite different, and they seemed to do a lot better because people felt more comfortable also staying in vacation rentals with shared lobbies or shared spaces that you have at the hotels. Over the holidays, I was able to do a bunch of research, and there was lots of locals that helped me with this, and I thought I would demonstrate how integrated in our community. It's not just the hospitality jobs, it's kind of our way of life, and it affects everything that we do here. So hopefully
what is tourism? It is economic development. It is the practice of importing money from visitors outside of the area. In this case, that is visitors from outside Kane County. Industry in Kane County and accounts for 30.45% of our workforce. Out of 2,908 total jobs in Kane County, 1,079 jobs are in leisure and hospitality. According to the Utah Department of Workforce Services, one job in Kane County has the equivalent value of 74 jobs on the Wasatch Front. That means the number of tourism jobs in Kane County equals nearly 8,000 jobs on the Wasatch Front. While tourism is accused of only providing minimum wage jobs, the impact of visitors increases the number of overall jobs, businesses, services, and infrastructure in the area that wouldn't be available otherwise. Kane County has 7,667 year-round residents. If you take the annual overnight visitors in Kane County, which was 1,076,659 in 2020, and spread them out over 365 days in the year, 1,076,659 divided by 365 equals 2,950 transient residents. You could say that our population is 38% higher, or accounts for 28% of our total population. Because of those additional transients, we need more power from Kane, or internet from South Central, more water, more garbage service, more road work, more law enforcement, more doctors and nurses, more federal lands and county employees, etc., which are family-sustaining income jobs. Many of these employees have children who go to our local schools. Without those jobs, our schools would be much smaller with fewer teachers and resources. If you took away tourism, you'd lose all the hospitality jobs, 1,079, plus 28% of family-state income jobs in Kane County, which exist due to the visitor population. That is 512 more jobs. Not to mention all the money spent locally that those employees and their families do in all of the businesses and the further losses that will result from that. Add the spending and impacts from day trippers and passers through to the night visitors. The impact of visits is even greater. A Additionally, because of tourism, each household saves $1,200 plus each year in taxes that they otherwise have to pay.
Did you learn something new? Clap if you did. Awesome. We worked hard on that, and we'll be sharing that Facebook, getting that information shared online. That 1,200 plus number, it comes from the Kim C. Gardner Policy Institute every year, and so I don't know what the next value will be, but it's 1,200 and up, and it's been as high as $1,400. So TRT is like a mythical unicorn or something. It's a little hard to understand, and people think it's rocket science, but it's not. It's not rocket science, but it is a little bit challenging to understand. So I put this video together and it will help everyone understand how it works, particularly here in Kane County as a fifth-class county.
In a tourism-dependent economy, our visitors are critical to our local economic vitality. How do we keep that visitor economic engine working? We are able to reinvest transient room tax generated from visitors to promote our destination and reinvest in projects. Kane County receives the max allowed by statute 4.25% on all overnight transients. That is collected and remitted by every hotel, vacation rental, and RV park, and lodging that is less than 30 days. Utah state statute ensures that a portion of the TRT will be reinvested in establishing and promoting to sustain the overall economy. TRT statute requires and allows a minimum of 47% of TRT must be spent on establishing and promoting, but up to 100% is allowed. A maximum of 53% of TRT can be spent on projects, which includes acquiring and operating things like our convention center and visitor information center. Payments for land or infrastructure improvements like the skate park, hiking trails. Mitigation, only used for us rural counties, 4th to 6th class. 5 specific things: solid waste removal, EMS or emergency medical services, SAR or search and rescue, LE or law enforcement, roads, class B through D or dirt roads. In the 2022 budget, TRT is paying $650,000 towards pumping solid waste at trails. EMS, Sheriff's Office budget for law enforcement and search and rescue, and the Road Department's budget for dirt roads. In addition to the 4.25% TRT that Kane County gets, each municipality in Kane County receives a 1% TRT tax, which has much more flexibility in how it is spent. Kanab, Orderville, Glendale, and Bigwater are all currently using this in their respective budgets.
Was that helpful? Good, thank you. We have a lot of great data sources, and I appreciate Kanab City helping out, Carla's office, workforce services, and all those data sources that you saw up there. So the next few slides are also some interesting information. So vacation rentals, I think, Commissioner alluded to the pinch that we felt from the additional domestic travelers that were in the area. And I think particularly so because we had such a huge spike in vacation rentals year over year. It went up 30%. And when they're in your neighborhoods and the transients are next door to you or across the street, you feel tourism a little more intimately than we've ever felt before. This is a fairly new phenomenon that just seems to be growing and growing. In Kanab City, about 50% of the vacation rentals are owned by locals, and 13% of those have an owner on site. In Kane County, I knew it'd be much different since we have Duck Creek, area Cedar Mountain, and also East Zion. Only 10% of those are owned locally. Most of those are owned out of state. International. So on a normal year, pre-pandemic, we have about 40% of our visitors are internationals, and we're going to work really hard to get them back as things return to normal. They're great. They stay longer, they spend more money, and the thing that we love most is they typically don't move here. We're all feeling a little pinched as you saw the number of building permits that are going on and our population growing. And we're a small population, so every bit of growth is felt. This is a really important slide. So in 2019, pre-pandemic, we exported 19 million more travelers from the US abroad than what we brought in internationally. So when travel was shut down, we had 19 million US travelers that needed a place to travel and vacation. So of course, we felt them in public lands where people were going to escape the mandates that they had in cities and being locked down in small apartments. They came to our wide open spaces. So that 19 million will change over time. And the forecast, so obviously we don't know what's going to happen. You saw the Chris part of the video. More variants and more changes in travel, but as things are expected to return to normal, the forecast says that our domestic behaviors will resume to normal more quickly, which means they may be going abroad quicker. And then the international travelers are a little more reluctant, and it will take till about 2021 for their behaviors to return to normal. So we may feel dip. It's hard to say. All we can do is go off the forecast as they change constantly. But that 19 million was a huge number, and we've definitely had an impact. So the tourism prophecy, Kelly shared some information with me from the history of Kanab that I thought was really interesting, so I wanted to share the story with you. A lot of the early settlers in their journals, they didn't note how beautiful our area is. It was kind of surprising that they weren't commenting on the diverse beauty, but they also were trying to just fight to survive. This is a rough area. However, a Mormon state president, E.D. Woolley, in the early 1880s, is that right, Kelly? He said he was enamored with the beauty of this area. He dreamt of tourism. Like, agriculture was really hard. And so he said, we need tourism. People will come from all over the earth. We need to figure out how to get this here. While Woolley was herding cattle for John W. Young, on the North Rim, he encountered the Grand Canyon for the first time, and it says he was so awestruck that he almost fell his horse. I've been awestruck, but I don't think I've been to that extent, but I love it. And so he said, this is one of the wonders of the world. People will come from all quarters of the globe and will pay great sums of money to gaze on what we now behold. And so the history of Kanab says basically he could be considered a seer as he prophesied that. And think about the transportation movement. That was pretty prophetic if you're thinking of wagons. And then Kelly went on to tell me that when they had the first automobile up in Salt Lake, they went to great lengths to like bring it down to Kanab so people could see it. And they had to bring in gasoline by train and drop it off along 89 key spots so he could refuel, and it took days to get down here to show people, look at this motorized vehicle. This is going to change our county. So it really has, and sometimes we need to remember to be grateful for what we have here. So our goals, I was looking up on old PowerPoint slides, kind of going through where we've been, where we're headed. Our goals have remained the same since 2016. And we've wanted to really overcome our seasonality and work on a 4-season destination. And this goes back to when Dirk was commissioner too. We were really trying to overcome that seasonality so we could have more year-round jobs. People could anticipate their budget a little bit better. Living would be a little bit easier. We wouldn't have these seasonal jobs. We wanted to improve the quality of life. And then we recognize as we bring in visitors from outside the area, it could threaten our way of life, our heritage. And so we really wanted to be mindful of that in everything that we do so that we can protect that and that can live on in perpetuity. And then also, rather than churn and burn and just bring volume visitors, we wanted to increase the length of stay and the spending per visitor. And we've all heard the parks saying that they feel like they have too many visitors and they didn't want us to hang our marketing on the parks. And so we really went beyond, and we've created all those adventure maps to turn our locals into better ambassadors as well, to get people to those other hidden gems. And they all came for the parks. Let's tell them about something they didn't know about and extend their length of stay here. And then, of course, our culinary experiences and using our local guides and outfitters. While our goals have remained the same, we've had to adapt our strategy numerous times through the pandemic. But we realized with people in lockdown, they were watching YouTube videos way more, and we didn't have a lot of strong video assets that were current. And so we worked on building more video assets. And then also we used to do 2 major, what I call evergreen campaigns. They weren't event specific. They were about coming any time of the year. And we would launch one early in the spring to kick off our visitation, get it started sooner, and then do one in the fall to try and get more visitors to stay through the winter. But as you know, during the pandemic, we had to like ice all of our campaigns. It actually kind of got hostile because on our Facebook page, we were doing park updates like Zion National Park, this is what's going on, and people were like, how dare you suggest we travel right now? And we were like, hey, we've always done updates for the park, and we will always do updates for the park. This is your choice. And so we had to ice our campaigns, but it really got us to think outside the box. And then as things started to soften, we had to deploy what we called micro campaigns and just be sensitive to the climate at the time. And so we've taken that into our strategy moving forward, like, hey, why don't we be more nimble, have these smaller campaigns that we can deploy more quickly, be more specific to geographic areas, and have more assets to do that. So one of the new campaigns that we'll be launching this year that we're really excited about was inspired by the pandemic and the sensitivities that they had. So we're calling it our Imagination campaign, and you can see the different types of assets that we'll use in that campaign. But it was really about, if you can't travel, if something should happen, we go back into lockdown, let's inspire your imagination, and once you can travel, you come here and you can let imagination go, because what you will see will exceed anything you can imagine. And this is one of our family-focused videos I'll show you.
Imagine a sandbox without the box, where your sense of adventure shifts to hyperdrive. And every step leads to worlds of discovery. Here, you can let imagination go.
We're excited about those. We have 4 of those, and we really did kind of shift our focus to families because we've seen over time our demographics have changed. We've lost a lot of the families. We have a lot of senior couples without kids, or kidless couples or singles, and so we've lost our workforce output per household. But if we are advertising to more families, that's what comes to our area to visit, and then that's what ultimately moves here, because we see that people visit an area first before moving there. So we're trying to influence that. This next campaign is another micro campaign, and we did it in conjunction with Iron County because Duck Creek and Bryan share the same visitor. And so we did a fall leaf peeping one and then a winter sports one in conjunction with them. And I'm going to share one of the radio ads from that. We did kind of like a Vegas, Frank Sinatra style song. So watch out though, it gets in your brain and it kind of like you find yourself singing it.
Duck Creek Village and Bryan Head Resort present. Well, what do you know? There's quite a show just
3 hours from Vegas.
come believe you won't believe just
3 hours from Vegas.
the yellows and golds and reds and gold just
3 hours from Vegas.
so jump in your car, it's not that far just
3 hours from Vegas.
just 3 hours from Vegas.
Vegas.com.
Producing cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism.
Yes, so me and the Iron County director, when we see each other, we're all like, 3 hours from Vegas. But we actually won a state radio ad award for that one. So this is our next micro campaign, Explore East of Zion. They're kind of complaining of the volume of visitors in the park, especially the west end. And so we're like, well, let's pull some of those up into Kane County, the quieter side of the park, the east side of the park, where we've got this experiential lodging assets. I love what they're doing. We're going to learn a little bit more about that there, but inviting them to come and experience the resorts and the experiential lodging there, and kind of go into that. We'll read that, but I think Kelly, you're going to share our slides or a deck with those who registered, so you're welcome to look at this later. This campaign literally just launched yesterday, and so if you drive out to the east side of town, come in, you're going to see our billboard. We found with all those additional visitors that a lot of them were new to the outdoors and needed a little bit of education on how to be a good visitor. And so this campaign became Kanab It's all about that visitor behavior, managing their expectations, also sharing safety guidelines, because they don't know sometimes that when you go out to the Wave or White Pocket, there's not going to be a store there where you can get water and snacks or a gas station. So just trying to help them, and also through this campaign, reduce the number of search and rescue calls. Like if we have a more prepared visitor, hopefully we won't have the demand on our services here. But check that out, go to bekindtokanab.com. Then through the pandemic, we had our sesquicentennial celebration, our 150th birthday. And these features were supposed to be filmed and launched then, but then obviously pandemic, so we had installed our filming and our production, but we still felt it was really important to feature the people in our area. I think the Havana County can't be separated, the land and the people. They're intertwined in our half of what makes us special. And so if you go to the website there, you can check out all 5. I'm going to share the John Reese feature here.
I'm John Reese, a multi-generational rancher. I also work for the Bureau of Land Management, a ranch land management specialist, working with local ranchers. I love getting up with the sun. I love being out on a horse, seeing the country. This is an arid part of land in Utah that we live. And my favorite part of it is being able to manage that land, create healthy land, healthy soil. And as we give to the land gives back to us. It's very important that we understand diversity. Droughts can have a significant impact. However, if you have a diverse species of vegetation and it doesn't affect the plant community and the plant life, I think there's definitely a tie between diversity in the landscape and vegetation types and diversity of people in a community. And I think it's important to have diverse people in our communities that have different opinions and they can work together and overcome challenges equally. It's not just the land that's beautiful, it's the people here that are beautiful. And the way they treat each other, and the respect they have for each other, and the love they have for one another, and the neighbor, the way that they ultimately treat each other and live their lives on a daily basis. Today, so many people are removed from the land. As you come to Kanab and you see the landscape that we have and visit with the locals, it helps you understand that you are a part of it. We hope you'll see the love that the locals have for it. And that you might develop some of that same love for caring for the land, understanding the land, and respecting the land that we have.
Do you guys love that as much as I do? So you'll notice the banana on the right. I'm going to challenge you to go and watch all of those so you'll know why the banana's there. So I call this the Year of Betty. I feel like if we want to protect our heritage, we have to share our heritage. By keeping it guarded, we're not letting people know that that's something that's important to us and that we value and that we want to see continue. So I'm hoping people will kind of open up and share our heritage and our values. It's a tourism-dependent economy, and we need to protect the value and vitality of our destination while preserving our heritage. So this is the Year of Betty. Cheers. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Okay, my panelists, we have a tourism panel. So Jaren and Aaron and Susan. Who's my other here? Shireen. Travis Mitchell with Canyon Collection apologizes he can't come. He's feeling a little under the weather, so come on up, but don't be shy. Here, scooch this way a little bit. All right, I'll do just a brief intro and then I'm going to pass the mic down and let these guys tell a little bit more. Jared Glazier, he is with Rome Outdoor Adventure Tours. Shireen McClellan is with, I always get this wrong, Western Star? My Star Vacation Rental. And then Aaron is with East Sign Resort and Susan Thunderbird Gallery, right? And then the Maynard Dixon Historical Studio. And so I'm just gonna let each of you take a few minutes to tell about yourself and then just pass the mic down.
I think we first got to recognize Kelly Stoll and how sharp he looks today. If we give him a round of applause. Best I've ever seen. Here we go. New sweater, yeah. So I'm Jeremy Glazier. I'm born and raised in Kanab. My parents run the Glazier's Market gas station. So Kanab's always been part of me. Moved away for a while. I've been working for a company called Pivot Smart Home for the last 18 years. And decided to move back home 6 years ago. Within the last year, we started a tour company called Rome. And it's been a lot of fun. We've had some trailblazers before us, like Umsworth here and others that have made that exciting and possible for us. So excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Sherry McClellan. My husband John and I actually grew up in Utah Valley. We raised our family of 4 kids in San Pete Valley. We just keep making our way down a little bit. We bought our first home here in Kanab in 2015, but we've been coming here, exploring, enjoying since we were kids. So exciting to go walk under that dinosaur cave when we were little. John and I have always been entrepreneurs, and for most of our nearly 40 years of marriage, we've been self-employed. We have a really good creative partnership, and through that creativity and a year of really hard work, we built our first vacation rental home here. My Star Vacation Rentals encompasses the Western Star Bungalow and the Star Garage, and we were just right at the corner when you turn to go into the Cottonwoods neighborhood, just south of Honey's Fuel Center.
It's so cute. You've got to go check it out.
Well, and it's because we love the heritage here in Kanab. And so that's what we built our places from. I think it's really special. I discovered through this process of what we've been doing that I love hospitality. And I kind of wish I had defined that a little earlier on in life. I just knew I loved to see people have a good time. And now I orchestrate that through the vacation rentals, and it's my full-time business. It's not a hobby. Making sure people have a good time.
She definitely goes above and beyond. So if you want any tips on how to treat your guests, talk to Sheree. All right, Aaron.
My name is Aaron Bonham. I grew up here in Kanab, and then I married a girl from Orderville. There's something in the water over there. If you marry someone, you end up in Orderville. So we left Kanab, probably about 14 years ago. Went to Mesquite, Nevada. Gained a great appreciation for our Red Hills while living there. Circled around to Cedar City and now we're in Orderville. So I joke around, I'm almost back to Kanab. A few years back, we started Eastside Resort. My family and the Young family bought a hillside, and me and Micah spent a lot of time up there visioning what we could do with that hillside. And we did a glamping resort with tree houses, yurts, and glamping tents. And so it's been a big project. We appreciate Camille and her team. They've been instrumental in helping us with our success, with all our great marketing. Just glad to be here. Thanks.
I'm Susan Bingham, and I'll just tell you a little story. There is something here that we have in this area that people often maybe don't think about as much, but back in 1932, there was a very well-known artist who was raised in San Francisco and was nationally known for his art. And he had always traveled throughout this western region. He loved the areas of Utah deserts and Arizona and New Mexico, and he was constantly traveling and painting, going to his home back in San Francisco. In 1932, he and his third wife, you notice an issue, but he decided to move here to Kane County. He always loved it. He actually had discovered East Zion because it was cheap, and because when he came here with his second wife, Dorothea Lyons, who you might know who she was, very famous for the Depression, they camped with their boys at Mount Carmel Junction. So he fell in love with the East Zion area. And he then subsequently was divorced and married a woman much younger. And they came and they decided they wanted to live here in the summer. And so they left their San Francisco home and he established his home in Mount Carmel. He loved the beauty of the area. Basically, this whole area is an art. However, I think so many people do not realize the very presence that artists have had throughout history in this region. Fast forward, there's a crazy couple from Ogden, Utah, with a golly, and we started collecting art because we both loved art. And we became acquainted with Maynard Dixon's art and learned all about him, and my husband sort of became known for acquiring and selling Maynard Dixon paintings, and eventually it led into him leaving the corporate world and becoming a full-time art teacher in American art from about 1900 forward. So then what happened is in 1997, the second owner of Maynard Dixon's home, Maynard was died in 1946, and his ashes are buried there in Mount Carmel. The home came up for sale, and I had never, ever dreamed that I would live in southern Utah. I was raised in northern Utah, and I will tell you, living in northern Utah, a lot of people, they live right up there. They never come to southern Utah, and yet we get people coming from all over the world to come here. And it's now even being discovered by people in northern Utah. But my family was from the Midwest, and so our vacations always went that way. So my husband and I bought this home, and we restored it, put it on the National Register, and formed a 501c3 foundation. And then later built a gallery here, where we show artists who are painting the American West today. And it's been very, very successful, but a lot of people don't know about it. So I thought I would just tell you a little bit of history and give you a chance to come up and see what's there. I think you will enjoy yourselves.
You hang on to the microphone, Susan, because I'll start with you on this next one. But I just want to vouch for Susan's gallery and the Historic Home and Studio. It's a beautiful property. Obviously, it was lived up north for years in the Utah Valley, and I would drive the Kanab, and I saw it, but it's kind of like it was just, I didn't really know what it was. And then I was working for a real estate broker, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that gallery in your area." And I was like, "What gallery?" He was very bougie and collected art, and he loved Maynard Dixon, and so he told me all about it, and I got introduced to their gallery through my former boss. But it's beautiful. The paintings they have there are definitely captivating and inspiring, and I sometimes get a little territorial when it comes to tourism because Jackson Hole is all about Western art, and I'm like, we should own that. We're the home of Western art. When they shot Western movies, it was here. You saw Red Cliffs and desert. You didn't see the Tetons. So anyway, Susan, I'm going to start with you. Point in life. So question one, how has the tourism industry in Kane County impacted or affected your life? And then also provided you the opportunity to give back to the community?
Well, we rely on tourism. When we came here, that's what we do. We were going to rely on this tourism because Dixon was known nationally. He's really not known particularly in this area very well. And so we knew that. And so it's very interesting. Every time someone comes in the gallery, they'll say, "What is a fine art gallery doing out in the middle of nowhere?" And we have to explain to them, well, you'd be surprised how many people come here, and the kind of volume we actually do here is kind of amazing. So the tourism is what we rely on here for what we do. the historical home, we do tours of it, and the way we get back to the community is through educating. We have school groups come in that we tell them about. We help them to have an appreciation for art and start learning and have a look at art and how to express themselves with art. We also have events here, and every time we bring events, we fill up some hotels, people eat in the restaurants. We're able to promote in that way, and I hope that we're giving back by just providing an educational experience and a cultural experience for people. This year we've got 86 tours scheduled with Backroads Tours, and each time they come, they bring about 15 to 20 people. It's kind of nice high-end tours, so that provides opportunities for us as well. So we're just thrilled, and I don't know what we would do without tourism, frankly.
Susan, real quick, talk about those brochures you have there.
Oh, yes, if you'd like one of these, this kind of explains what we do and to reprint American Bundle magazine.
Thank you. Aaron? Same question.
Same question, all right. Back in the 1980s, my parents built a gas station convenience store on the road to Lake Powell. And I remember growing up, summer was all about work. You had to make hay when the sun shined, and then when winter came, Mom and Dad were always in a bad mood, money was tight, you just kind of barely scraped by. Fast forward to now, I think the county's done a fantastic job at helping our late fall, winter traveler come to the area. Tourism has impacted my life greatly. Ever since I was a little kid, it taught me a work ethic, and then now my kids have a job at our resort in the summers. Other resorts, Design Ponderosa, they employed my son for a while. And I really think that sometimes tourism businesses gets a bad rap for just catering to the tourists. But my family has benefited dramatically from the tourists that have come here. We always try to, thank them and appreciate them traveling here. They can pick anywhere in the world. They pick Kane County, Kanab, and Porterville, and we're just grateful to have them here.
Well, talk about how many people you've employed.
Right now, between our property management company and the resort, we're about 50 people. So
it's
been good.
Thanks for the jobs.
I told John, how is tourism affected my life? It would be easier to say, how is it not affected my life? The past 6 years, it's been all about just how to be a force for good while sharing this amazing place. So a couple of years ago, I was put in as the president of our Vacation Rental Owners Association, and that position has given me the opportunity to reach out in ways just with a, not maybe the general public, but our owners. We're kind of in a unique position we rely on tourism, so we need to be responsible for tourism. There's a lot of educating that needs to happen on both sides of the fence. We need owners to step up and be good neighbors, rent responsibly, and yet do what I love best and see people have a good time.
Two other things about Shereen. So you were instrumental when we were talking to TRT and trying to get our vacation rentals compliant and make sure that they were paying their TRT, which obviously impacts what we can do for the community. And then also Shereen and John are super great to volunteer for our events. So thank you for that. You were giving back to the community because we have volunteer, so we appreciate it.
We love to volunteer, and I'm going to start harping on our owners a little more because really this is the hand that feeds you. So get out there and be part of it.
Awesome, thank you. Appreciate it, Karen.
I think this is the most important question. With Vivint for 18 years, and we decided to move home. I can work remotely from anywhere because of travel, and there's a lot of travel involved and a lot of away from family involved in that. And with a
growing family with kids getting older, it became more and more difficult. So for me personally, tourism means everything. It's allowed me to say, hey, I don't have to rely on this career path that I've gone for the last 18 years anymore. I don't have to leave my family more. So on a personal level, it means everything. So I'm grateful for tourism and the opportunity that's provided there. Now, on the flip side of that, how can we give back? I give back. It's given me an opportunity to give back to the community by being a coach or being involved in the youth in the community. And that goes back to tourism as well, because it's created a job that's allowed me to do that. So, yeah, that's a personal question with a personal answer.
That's awesome. So Jared and Aaron, this is off the cuff, but don't you feel like this community has a way of drawing you back? Like the Jumanji beat, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I gotta go home. I felt that way. There was definitely something that was tugging me, and I was trying to come home for years before it actually happened. Also, to Aaron's point earlier, I wanted to bring up your kids starting out in hospitality. So Utia shared a fun fact about that those who start out in hospitality and tourism actually make higher incomes ultimately than those who start out in other industries. And I think a lot of that has to do with the skills you developed by having to interface with people from all over the world. And I hope Caitlin Tolis doesn't mind me bringing this up, but she's a perfect example. She's my son-in-law's sister. And she was really shy, maybe even awkward, but then she went to work at Houston's, and first she was bussing tables, but she started to engage more with people, and then she became a server, and she can talk to anybody now. And that will be something that will work to her benefit in job searches in the future. So I think that's really cool. Okay, we're gonna start with you. How has the tourism industry in Kane County, I just did that, sorry. How do you try to influence customers and visitors to improve their experience and the community's experience with them?
So good question. So we're in the tour business, which means we're taking people to different places in the county around Kanab that are exciting to us. When I moved back, Camille talks about that feeling of coming back. It was 6 years ago or so, but we always, it was kind of the back of our mind, we kept pushing it off. And right when I came back, me and my dad started doing all these hikes that were here when I was here before. But I didn't know that they were here, apparently, or didn't value them. I don't know what it was. But we started doing these things, and it was a lot of fun, and it was exciting, and it was contagious, because I would share a clip or something on Instagram. People want to come. I mean, we have an example here with the Jameses. I think we got them over one time, just a personal tour. I took them out, got the wife on board, and now they're here full time, right? We could thank tourism for the Jameses. Maybe a round of applause there.
Let's clap right now.
Actually, that's good. But we feel like we are stewards of the land in the tour business, so we have to respect and educate and train people how to show the reverence to these places. For example, my uncle Barry, some of you may know, who is a great photographer. No, he's not here today, is he? He's probably riding his bike somewhere. But he took that first iconic picture of Color Point, or if you're a tourist, you call it the Great Chamber. But he took that first picture of him and my dad on the sand dune, and if you hike up to it now, you'll see that picture there on a little plaque talking about ethics as you visit the site. And I know that he regrets that picture now because of what it's done. It's created this explosion of interest. Apple and all these other people have been there because of that picture. So I feel a duty to make sure that it's respected and cared for, just so I can make my own money and to keep locals happy. So I think that's the best way that we can, personally, is we have to be a good steward of the land and do that.
I was going to say too, we rely quite a bit on our guides, because the guides spend so much time with our visitors that they really have the opportunity to impact them and shape kind of their views of the area. So we encourage our guests to use guides when they're going out, and they also feel a lot better about their safety, and it reduces search and rescue calls. So Okay, Shireen.
And we're a little bit on the opposite side of that, because I don't get to spend a lot of time with my guests. But I'm sure, like most of you, we all have our favorite recommendations of where we like to send people or tell them what to do while they're here. But you know, as I consider this question of how do I try to influence my guests to have a great experience, and the flip side of that, the community's experience with our visitors, you know what, honestly, I don't have to do very much because people here are so darn awesome.
And I think you probably have the chance to influence before they even get here with your recommendations and getting them into the restaurants, you know, so there's more
there's a
influence.
lot, yeah, there's a lot we can do. People love we recommend. I have your flyers in my rental, and I write a note and I hang on there. This is my personal experience at your place, and this is why I recommend they go there. But I instantly thought of a couple examples I want to share with you really quick about what happens when visitors come. So we had some really nice people from Canada a couple of years ago. I didn't get to meet them until near the end of their stay. When we came and I met them, they could not wait to tell me about the night they were sitting out on our front porch, and a local lady walked by, came over, started to chat with them. They had a nice little chat, and soon after this woman left, she was back with a loaf of homemade bread. And they were like, wow. Well, 2 days later, she's back with a homemade shawl for this woman. You know, I have no idea who this was.
Did you use Andy to knit it?
If she was like in our neighborhood or what. These people were over the moon because a neighbor walked by at the time of them. I had another guest a couple of years ago, a man named Steve, he and his wife, swimming pool one night, not aware that the pool was closed to the public for a private party. I don't know who the family was that was having a private party. They welcomed these people with open arms, brought him in, and he couldn't wait to tell me how great it was. And they called him Uncle Steve all night long. And they were at the pool party. That's what happens when people come here. I don't have to tell you how to influence guests. It's just great.
I love that, and kind of along with how great our people are there intertwined with our landscape. A few years ago, a tour operator from Quebec, Canada, and it was in the winter, and so there's, you know, I think it was dismal weather, and she just wanted something to do in the evening, so she decided to go to our local movie theater. And at the time, they didn't accept credit cards, and she didn't have a check, and so she was in line, and when she learned that, she's like, oh, okay. She went to walk away, and the people behind her are like, oh, we got you. We'll pay for you. And she's like, that has never happened, anything like that in her entire life. We take for granted those gestures of kindness, and it made her cry. And so she actually felt very bonded to this area and sends a ton of visitors our way as a result of that. So those things have tremendous impact. Aaron, I'll let you take it.
I believe in networking, and I think that's how we've influenced our customers to have a greater experience. I mean, I look down at the Unsworths. I know some of our guests have just had fantastic experiences with them. Iron Rod, they designed their resort. I mean, whether even in engineering firms in the tourism business. Nate and Candace, I mean, they've built places, you know, for vacation rentals, give other people an opportunity. And so I don't believe in competition, I believe in abundance, and I think as we all continue to work together and network with each other and, you know, send our customers to a cool restaurant, a cool place to go on a tour, I think that's how we keep giving that experience to our customers to keep them coming back.
I was hoping you would share that really cool story. Was it Bon Jovi?
Oh, that's an epic story.
Yes.
I don't think we have time, but I'll just
Reader's Digest version.
Really quick. I got a phone call from a lady, and she said, hey, do you have any openings to stay in one of your tiny homes? And I said, we actually don't. We're super busy. You know, so sorry. And she said, well, what if I told you that my husband's the lead guitarist for Bon Jovi? Would that make a difference? I said, of course it would. I didn't believe her. And I said, let me see what I can do. And I hung up the phone thinking, there's nothing I can do. Well, like an hour later, a big group called and they canceled. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So I called her up and I said, hey, guess what? We have an opening. We can bring your group in. And she said, well, hey, my husband wants to meet you. His name's Phil X. You can look him up on YouTube. He's the second guitarist. I think Richie Sambora was the first. Anyway, I didn't believe her. And then when she got here, we were just sitting at home and I got a phone call and she's got a Greek accent. I can't even mimic it. But she said, get down here for some cheese and wine and we're ready for you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I asked my wife if she wanted to go and she goes, he's not Bon Jovi. No. And so my daughter's like, oh, Dad. And anyway, we showed up and everyone was in leather pants and quite the hairdos, and it was awesome. So the next day, me and Micah from East Side Experiences, we took them out to Peekaboo and saw wrestling, and just awesome experience, made a lifelong friend. So.
And you'll probably get lots of referrals as a result.
Maybe a backstage pass someday. So.
Oh, yeah, let's see. How you influence customers and visitors to improve their experience and the community's experience with our visitors.
Well, that's a hard one to say because they come and they just love food. I'm finding that people are just loving country southern Utah, and I love meeting all these people. There are people from all over the country that come here and they just say, oh, the state is so beautiful. It's wonderful. You live in paradise, I said. And I think how wonderful that they're discovering this, and then they always want to know where to eat. That's really nice to be able to tell them great places to eat and great adventures that they can go on. Adventure companies most of them already have got that whole itinerary figured out, and there's a lot of people that are now staying in Orderville, and things are big that are going on up there. It's all working, and I think that as we work together and we find a way to each of us know what our businesses are about, we can promote each other. And that's what I try to do. I try to tell people the best places to eat, the best places to go, things to see. That's, I hope I help.
I have this theory that the more interactions our visitors have with our locals, the better their experience will be and the better visitor they will be. So that's kind of what's at the root of that question.
I hear every time my guests go to Escobar's and they meet Rosa and they go to Rock and Beat. Victor came and sat at our table and talked to us. Huge, huge.
It makes a difference. Just yesterday, there was a couple of ladies standing in the drive-thru at Sunny Creek Bakery's food truck. And I said, oh, hey, ladies, the walk-up sign is on the other side of the drive. I'm like, oh, sorry, we were just looking at this soda menu. And they're like, what's with the soda? I'm like, oh, in Utah, we love our soda. And I told them because of the LDS culture, a lot of people don't drink alcohol, so we get all jiggy with our sodas. They were dying of laughter, like, we're gonna take a picture, we're gonna have a soda. So those are things that are unique experiences. We kind of take it for granted, but those things matter. Don't be afraid to engage with a visitor. It makes a difference on the trip. So let's see. What tools and resources does the county provide that have been helpful to you as a business owner in the tourism industry? This is kind of I'm scared to get the answer, and hopefully we're helping. So, Jared, I'm going to put you on the spot. Go first. Susan, you go first. Sorry, we'll just.
I want to say that since Camille has taken over, I think we've seen tremendous help. She's just great. The positive attitude, I think, that she brings to the tourism industry and to all of us, and what she does has spread so much. And
I'll tell you later.
You do so much. So, and the fact that you promote businesses in the area and that you take the time to go meet people and people like us that are way out there stuck has been just really great, and we appreciate all the help. We appreciate people who are discovering it and talking about it and sending people our way. And all that happens a lot. People will say, "Oh, you gotta go there and go see that," and we try to do the same thing.
Awesome. And in case you don't know, I have a very awesome high functioning team. They're all buzzing around here, so we do it together.
I think there's way more going on behind the scenes than any of us realize in what Camille and her team does. I can't tell you how many times we've had people call us wanting a tour of our property, and it's all come from Camille and her team. And so I think we need to give them standing ovation for what they've done for us here. It's so painful.
Guys, free for lunch later?
Okay, the first thing that came to my mind is all the special events that you guys put on is what makes this place magical. I mean, a lot of places have a visitor center and a lot of places have scenery, but the events that draw people in are amazing. And I want to give kudos to the website rebuild we did a little while ago. It's been a couple of years now, but the events calendar, all of the information on that website, I refer people to that all the time, and I use it myself. And I also want to kudos on just the little printed maps. Little things like that make a difference. And if you're brand new to an area, you just sometimes need that little bit. And the new signage that's been up, it's a big help to help orient people where these trailheads are, where do I go for the wave lottery. Those little things are big things. So thank you.
Thanks, Shereen. I want to give props to our events team. The devil is in the details. There's so many moving parts to those events. They are so consumptive and so hard, but we recognize the value they are to the communities of Kane County. So we hope to be able to do them in perpetuity. So give a round of applause for it. All right, Jerry, I'm going to have to pay you a few bucks.
We need to say something bad, so I was thinking, what's bad is Camille's truck color. It's Kanab girl with a valley truck.
I'm spreading the love. I'm showing I'm Camille with the valley, but I also love Harley Davidson, hunting, and Halloween.
So I've enjoyed it's kind of an open door policy. There's a face-to-face interaction. You feel like you have a voice. Those are the things that I've appreciated so far in my interaction.
Thank you, appreciate that. So this next question, I can't wait to hear your answers. If you were ruler for a day, what would you do differently and why?
I don't like this question, really.
It doesn't have to do with just tourism, maybe it relates to Kane County.
Yeah. With me being a coach and involved with the youth, I'm excited to hear about the event center. I'm excited to hear about those things. I think there needs to be a real emphasis on the youth and what's happening in the community. I think that's the best way to get the community back for them living in a place that attracts people. I think people get a negative feeling towards tourism when people create the money and then take it somewhere else. But when it stays in the community, because we're all impacted by it somehow. And I think that would be the thing that I would say, not necessarily change, but influences those that are making money on tourism, that they need to remember where the money was made and to get back to, I think specifically the youth in the community.
Why did you need that question? That's a great answer.
Yeah, my answer is, if I were ruler for a day, mint brownies would have 0 calories.
I'll second that. That would be nice.
And then next, this is very self-serving after his ennobling answer, right? I'm a little embarrassed, but if I were ruler for a day, people would stop calling short-term rentals Airbnbs and VRBOs. Those are simply OTAs, online travel agencies. They are ad companies that charge a commission. They own nothing. They know nothing about my house. They don't care about my area. It's the little guys that make that industry happen for people. Call them vacation rentals, call them short-term rentals, just not an Airbnb.
It's like calling beach blocks, right? It's brand specific or at least some stuff. Point taken.
Yeah, it's like calling your restaurant, all the restaurants are McDonald's.
My answer is probably going to align a lot with what Jared said. I get asked a lot, Aaron, are you ever going to stop? Like, you got your hands in too many things. What are you doing it for? And the answer is always the same. I want my kids to have an opportunity. If they want to come back, I think it's great. If they want to go to New York City, I think that's great too. But what I can do is give them an opportunity. And so if I could change one thing, it would probably be building a better bridge between our schools, not just our local high schools, but the Southwest Tech, the technical schools, where we have a real shortage here for trade jobs. I think back in the olden days, you thought an electrician, they don't make very much money. Well, now an electrician can make as much as a doctor with, what rates are and everything like that. So if I could change one thing, it would be to promote more of the jobs that could possibly bring our kids back home.
Love that and agree. Susan.
Wow, this is a hard one tonight. I think to kind of say what I'm going to say.
Bring it, put it on the table.
But I will tell you the one major thing that people always say to us when they come to visit our galleries, they say, this is such a beautiful area. I wish people would take better care of their properties. And that's one of the big things that there's been a big move up in Oregon for a lot of people to beautification projects and so forth. And I think that takes a lot of local people just getting involved in it and recognizing the kind of face you put on the place when you don't take care of the property. They get a different opinion of this area. And I think it all helps. And so I would do that. So sorry.
That's fair. We actually worked with both Glendale and Porterville to do removal of stuff because I know to live here, you have to work hard. Sometimes you just simply don't have the time or resources, so we've helped with that in the past, and that's something that we could do.
The came and took the fridge off my front porch.
I'm sorry.
Bitter about that.
I had to take some tires and stuff out of it first. Oh, that's awesome. Kelly, do we have time for a couple questions? Perfect. Any questions for these guys in the room? Okay, well, I appreciate you guys taking time to answer those questions. I think one of the things that I'm also working on is I tend to communicate in numbers. I live in numbers, and that's how we're measuring everything. And I was told by a counterpart that as an industry, we need to stop communicating in numbers so much. And so you guys were part of that strategy, is just letting you see people who rely on the industry, who are making a difference in our community, and that's the most important thing. So please give them a round of applause.
Okay, we're going to take a break. That felt pretty good to stand up. So we're going to take a break until 10 a.m. Thank you. I think there's food in the back, plenty of drinks and other stuff to get us through the morning.
We are having this breakout of a big place that so we have grants that we are water, Diabetes is the only that it's kind of a double, it's been a double. Really careful to manage this problem. I also document Skip's dog. Yeah. You're right. To recognize it. You know what? I'm going to wait. And I'm
We have 5 kids who only disappear for slightly over 24 hours without like serious help with this. We're heading to St. George. So, pretty good. We'll see. Yeah. We're trying to get ducks in a row. I'm trying to sell online, which is like it does stuff to get to start our house. Keep going forward. How about you? Staying pretty busy. I'm gonna do this guys. Okay. Nice. And next week, I finally got all the resources to finish the floor. Have you ever done that final place?
watch a lot of YouTubers.
Well, that's everybody always says, "Oh, you just cut it with a knife." And it's
You ought to have
saw just
a saw if you're going to do any cuts that are like there's just a lot of hard cuts where they're not snappy. If it's too close to the end of the board, if it's a long waist cut, But like I said, I've watched like 3 hours of YouTube. A lot of education.
Well, David,
And I did a original thing that had some of the black, the altitude, so you can tap along the place. And most of the YouTube I watched were like the top 10 mistakes. I feel like it should go there. But no.
well, no, I've only installed my in-laws, and my father-in-law he thought he was the smartest guy in the world going after it, so I just he gave me peace. I never really cut it. I was just slapping it down and pounding everything out. I'm supposed to be helping Tim in the morning, lay some concrete in his basement. He jackhammered it out. I bought a brand new sledgehammer that he stuck in a shed and into the back. He got after it. It's just been so slow. And then the plumber came in and said, "Oh, that's kind of a hard way to do it. Look this way." It took 40 minutes. And yeah, go for it. So I was kind of awkward. He did fine. Well, I'll let you. So, good to see you.
So, we have the house, and then the wood shop into if they are separate, I just want to say when you're dealing with people and all these big people organizations, one of the things is like, talk to us. Yeah.
You meeting Monday at 6? Okay. Where do you guys want to meet?
Yeah, I guess we didn't set that.
How are you?
Good to see you. I guess if nothing else, my bike's on. They're just next to you.
Yeah, I guess it's exciting. Yeah.
Well, and I can definitely see that. But I get looking at the ordinance now to come up with an ordinance that says, I don't know. Somewhere I read it. I'm not the ordinance. I want the real intent. Well, I guess the thing that is that they come up with it, and the state has pushed it now.
Hello.
That's a good way to be cut, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm glad to see that. Oh, you didn't. It's Easter means to get those.
I know.
I'm sorry. Every time you see me, I call you. I'll do better.
I need to do better, but last 8 months has been kind of a roller coaster. Last night I was up till 4 a.m. editing the video for Evergreen Campaigns. She has a presentation on Saturday that she needed, and she just told me a week ago that she needed it. And so I apologize. I've put years down the list. Basically, anytime somebody said, "Oh, I need this," because you haven't seen it, it's way down. And it is almost time. I just, like I said,
Well, take care of yourself and get some sleep. That's a really important part of your service. It's good to see you. Thank you. I know. I can't think of that, but I know.
All right. How's it going?
All of us. Yeah.
No. What gym you hit? Oh, it's yeah. Forgot that was on there. Oh yeah. I feel like if I hadn't figured out a few things actually good, guys, honestly, it's like the one fallback in my life is that's where my serotonin comes from. If I don't have that, I go crazy. Right now, I'm just making sure to stay loose enough because I'm doing a lot of manual labor at the farm, at the light shop, so it's still my challenge. If I overdo it on my body, it's like every day I was doing 3 places and shoulders, traps, so I tighten like this. I'll literally wake up in the middle of the night and start. So I'm still trying to loosen up more. Oh, I know. That's I do. Well, and actually one thing you also opened my mind to that I didn't dare do when we talked about it, but ice cream, cold water. It's a weird thing. I always been afraid of it because it's cold. But you loosen up right, and I don't know, it's a balancing thing. It evens out tension. So yeah, cold showers. Yeah. I could force myself to do it more.
I think.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point that this last year is the best start of my time. Particularly with my shoulders still going to come back to when I was like 5-6 years old. The last year or two with these cold water things and just focusing on stretching now, I'm like, wow, I can move in ways I couldn't. I can straight up class. Shoulder. And so I'm getting right there to go there. I don't know, maybe it is still premature, but I want to get back to building muscle someday, eventually.
That's
That's something though that now, I guess the crazy things in the last year, maybe two. I think now I just read my body enough that I'm like, okay, whatever it's doing, I can figure it out.
We're going to call the meeting back to order. Have everyone's attention. We're going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to commit to it, but I want to be for that. That's 10 days a year.
All right. I just want to highlight our sponsors again, and just want to mention all the booths on the outside. So we have Impact Utah, Southern Utah University Community Education, the Utah State University Rural Online Initiative, the Utah Department of Workforce Services, the 5-County Association of Governments, the 5-County Association of Governments Child Care is also here, Best Friends Animal Society, Hallows and Company, the Women's Business Center of Utah, the Small Business Development Center, and the Dixie Business Resource Center, Southwest Tech, the World Trade Center, Kane County Office of Tourism, and the Kanab Area Chamber of Commerce. So thank you for being here today. Give them a round of applause. So we have to change the schedule up a little bit. We were going to hear from the Public Information Officer for Southwest Health. He got in an accident on his way over here this morning, and but everything's good, and so we will hear from him a little bit later. But Right now, we have the opportunity here to hear from Mike Wells from the Water Conservancy District. Water is extremely important to our desert area, and Kane County is one of the driest states counties in the state. Mike Wells is all things water, as we know, and he's going to give us an update about the water situation with the Water Conservancy District. He's a wealth of information and passionate about this area. Doesn't need much of an introduction from me. Hopefully everyone knows Mike. He's in the legislature for 16 years. Appreciate his service. We know what a challenge that is. And thanks for being here today, Mike.
Thank you, Kelly. I guess they want me to raise a little cane here today. I usually do that when I speak, is raise a little cane. But I wanted to say a couple of things about those OHVs on the sand dunes that we showed. Back in 1996, they created the Grand Staircase Escalating National Monument, and part of the plan was to close down 1,000 miles of roads. These are all RS 2477 roads. I sued not only the county, but also went to go after BLM. We won that lawsuit. The roads are still open. And so people can still travel on these back roads. Had we not won that lawsuit, a lot of these tourist activities that you're enjoying today would not be available to you. These are roads that have been there since Kanab was established back in the 1860s, 1960s, but they're at least 30 to 40 years old. Now, with the new designation of the new monument back, it may change. But in any case, that's also an issue we had to work with the Kane County Water Conservancy District. If you live in Johnson Canyon or part of the Johnson Canyon system, we actually applied for a right to drill the Navajo sandstone some 20 years ago. And we had to fight that all the way to the, almost to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeal before we got the right to drill for our water on federal land and get that permit. So that's another one that we had to deal with. All the water is coming from out of Johnson Canyon, from the Johnson Canyon system. So those are just a few things to get people fired up a little bit here. The water district, the Kane County Water Conservancy District, was established in 1992 with the vote of all the property owners in Kane County. The vote was overwhelmingly favorable. They voted to tax themselves at a mill levy not to exceed 0.001 mil. So that's the mill levy that was put into place in 1992, and today it's half that. It's 0.00054. If you own a home, take the property value of your home. If it's your permanent home, reduce it by 40%, multiply it by that number, and that's how much you pay to the district. We're actually at about $1 million in tax revenue, over several $1 million in revenues from water use and from water fees. So that's what's really happened over the years. We own approximately 29,000 acre feet of water rights. That's a lot of water. 30,000 in Lake Powell. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We maintain actually 3 water systems out in Johnson Canyon, one up on Cedar Mountain, and one in the Long Valley area. So talk about Lake Powell Pipeline. Everybody seems to think that we are not involved in the Lake Powell Pipeline. We own 4,000 acre feet of water rights in that project. We are not right now in the EIS that's being done. This is the only way that St. George and the Washington County area can actually survive is with Lake Powell Pipeline. If they don't get that 83,000 acre feet of water, they're done. Now, 4,000 acre feet of water, that's about, well, let's say you have a cabin on Cedar Mountain, you use 1.2 acre feet of water per year. If you have a house indoor use, you use 0.45 acre feet of water per year. If you have a house and outdoor, you're using about an acre foot per year. So anyway, you figure that 4,000 acre feet could be as many as 8,000 connections, 16,000 connections to 4,000 connections, depending on what you use that water for. This pipeline is 140 miles long, 5 pump stations, 6 hydroelectric facilities. Today, as you know, Lake Powell has a capacity of 24 million acre feet. I always get this question. The Lake Powell pipeline's never going to work because there's going to be water. Well, let's look at the numbers. Today it's at 27% full at 6.6 million acre feet. When the Lake Powell pipeline is full, 86,000 acres of water is 0.34%. At this point, it would be 0.12%. So within 100 yards of where the dam is, that will be available. That will not go away, because if that goes away, you have no hydro pumping. You notice just recently, they shut down California and Nevada and releases in that area. One of the things that's actually hurt us with water in Lake Powell are the required releases by the Park Service to protect threatened and endangered fish. So instead of going through the turbines, they flood the canyon, and that builds water upon the banks, and the chub, humpback chub, and woundfin minnow, and all these fish survive. So that benefits California, it benefits, but it hurts Lake Powell. So I'm not exactly sure who came up with that idea, but it sure hurts Utah's water rights. Utah is the second driest state in the nation. The first driest state in the nation is Nevada. So we really have to look out for the water rights we have. Our system in Johnson Canyon has 465 connections. The capacity, the source capacity, that's the wells that we presently own and are operating, is 3,701 connections. We have 3 wells. They have a capacity to pump 800 gallons per minute. One well in the Navajo sandstone, which is about 1,000 feet in the ground, can actually pump about 1,000 gallons a minute by itself. We actually loaded that up with a smaller pump so that we're not getting the big demand charges from Garcade Power. We have a storage capacity which is available. You need 100 gallons per person per day, or 400 gallons per connection per day. That's figuring an average household of 4 people, but probably the average household now in our system is about 2.5 people. So we actually have more storage capacity than we need. And we have 750,000 gallons in storage. We've had 60 new connections on that system this year. You can kind of do the math, 460 to 60. That's a huge increase, and it's growing. Right now, there's about 400 lots east of Kanab that have been platted and are starting to build on. So there's going to be a lot more growth east of Kanab. Duck Creek, this is our largest system. It actually started with a request from the Department of Environmental Quality, the Division of Drinking Water. There were 17 different small water systems up there. They asked us to come in. Every single one of the water systems were out of compliance with EPA and state regulations. Happy to say that every one of those systems are connected. Every one of them are up to standards. We have radio read meters on all the meters. We have all the storage capacity. While we were putting in the lines, we actually added fiber optic. So there's fiber optic to all the homes up there. We worked with Kane, put in power. So what you're seeing is the lot values of those lots have increased dramatically because of water, because of power, because of access. And so where's half of our tax base come from for Kane County? It comes from Cedar Mountain. That's where the tax base is coming, because most of those homes are second homes, and you don't get the primary home exemption on that. 2,941 connections, 925 gallons, 2.65 million gallons of storage, 150 new connections. That's in the last few years, the last couple of years. And we have capacity for 15,000 connections. Most of those are in what we call Area 61, which is the severe river drainage, which is part of our charter. Duck Creek sewer system. This is a new one. About 10 years ago, the Department of Health did a study and found that there was E. coli in the water on Mammoth Creek, and they tracked that down to the meadows there at Duck Creek. They were failing septic systems. You had raw sewage on the top of the ground. And so it was creating a real problem. A lot of that water in that area was being contaminated, and the health department came to us and said, can you do anything? Within the charter of Title 17, it says you can actually deal with wastewater, gray water. And so we actually took it upon ourselves to do some studies on that and what needed to be done. We went to the Department of Environmental Quality and we told them we can do it, but if we start with this system and eliminate those ones in the village, all of the connections, the project is not going to be feasible because you can't pay out $4 million with 38 connections. And so I went to the board, said this is how it's got to be. We got to have grants. We got the largest grant ever given of $3 million. We got a $1 million grant, zero interest for 30 years. And the connections there are at a reasonable fee. The connection fee like $1,500, and then there's a fee every month for the amount of water that you're using on that. We also have a secondary phase where we're testing all of the septic tanks, septic systems on the mountain on a regular basis to make sure they are functional. So we have a small fee on the water bill that accounts for doing that work. At some point, we hope to do sewer throughout the mountain and get that project done to clean up the area. This is kind of an interesting one. How do I do this, Anthony? On the ground, most of this is right Duck Creek Village area, it's basalt, it's old lava rock, very difficult to dig up. So this is what the contractors did. What? Oh, there we went. Okay. That's kind of cool. I know Tom likes it, right, Tom? So we also recently, with all the controversy over the golf course and what's happening with water in Kane County, I wrote a grant, or got a grant request to Division of Drinking Water. We were given a $135,000 grant. This will be a study of not only all of Area 85 in Johnson Creek and in Kanab Creek. Hopefully, we can determine how much water, what the recharge is, what's going to affect the water, some of these issues and nuances between the irrigation company and between the Kanab City. I don't know if people understand this, but the irrigation company has about 7,500 acre-feet of water rights. And those water rights are all picked up, 90% were picked up from a diversion just north of Kanab. When you go around that real steep curve before you get to the shipping station, that little pond is a diversion for the irrigation company. And that's where the water comes from. Before we built the Jackson Flat Reservoir, that water all went down to Arizona, or it went on the ground until the ground was saturated, then it went down to Arizona. So we captured that water in a 4,000 acre foot reservoir. We'll talk about that. But we also drilled wells in diluvium. So none of that water impacts anybody in Kanab City, or does it impact best friends? I see Bart here. We've already gone over this conversation, and he agrees with me. If you don't, raise your hand, Bart. No, he does. He's good. All right, Cove Reservoir. This is a new project. It's up south of Waterville, and it's called the Cove. We're in the middle of, we did an environmental statement, an EA. We went through all the process. It took us several years to do it, almost $1 million. We got all done with it. And guess what? Changed administration, and now we got to do an EIS. It's going to be another $1 million, probably another 2 or 3 years to get it with the same information we just got. But we're going to finish that EIS and get it done. It's a 6,000 acre foot wet reservoir. We're doing this in conjunction with Washington County. It's 75-25 match. The 25 match is going to be paid by Washington County. So essentially, Keaton County paid for the land. It paid for the pipeline. It goes to the reservoir, which is part of the Orderville Mount Carmel irrigation system. And we also built a hydro plant on that some 25 years ago, so it generates power, and that power money goes to you, the taxpayers, and to help with some of our bills. So, so that will provide water to Glendale, Orderville, Mount Carmel. Some people say, well, why did we spend all this money on the farmers? Well, if you go back to historically, when we, before due diligence, which is before the state engineer took over water rights, anybody could drill a well anywhere they wanted. But the ones that actually did all the work to prove up all the water were the farmers. So if you go back, every water right that you see is pretty much tied to the farmer. All of Kanab City's water rights at the beginning were given to Kanab City by the Kanab Irrigation Company. You say, wow, that was pretty good. Essentially, they were the same people. People that were in charge of the irrigation company were also the city council members and the mayor and all those people. So they did that, so they have those water rights, and those are diligent claims. That means they're 1898 or 1896 priority. But it may come a day where that water is more valuable for some other use. Right now, there's a lot of the farmland that heretofore was being farmed, but is now under sidewalks, pavement, houses, hotels, and new development. So what happens if you don't use that water? Under state law, you lose that water. So we've got to make sure that we don't lose those water rights. That's one of my jobs that my board tells me that I should do. In fact, when people say, why are you thinking about the Lake Tahoe pipeline? We have plenty of water. It's like 3, 4 years, 5 years ago. I said, because that's my job. We have all that water I told you about. That just didn't come by happenstance. We worked on it. We got the water from the old Edlex project by applying for that water, and we got it. We received it through, they did a tax-free donation from the old company. And we own those rights. They're 1964 priority date, which precedes the Utah, Central Utah project. So they're extremely valuable water rights. We actually treated some of those, this percent match on this reservoir. Next one, Cove River. So any more opportunity, you'll have a lot of great recreation, probably better fisheries. It'll be a deeper reservoir, have roads around it, be camping, things like this for recreational side. And that's all evaluated in the EIS. This was last July 24th. We had a wonderful Pioneer Day celebration. Over 2,500 people showed up. Donations from people, even from Fredonia City, gave us money. We appreciate that. The South Central Telephone, Kane Energy, all helped us provide and celebrate our Founders Day of July 24th. Their level is 83%. Now think about that. Last year was the driest year we've had in probably 100 years. And at this very same time last year, we were 59%. The year before that, we were at 73 or 74%. No, it's less than that. It was, it's more than that. It's like 78%. And that was one of the wettest years we've ever had 3 years ago. And so we're almost caught up with that. There's enough water in that reservoir to pretty much fill all the needs of the, plus what comes down the drain, of the irrigators and the users on the system, which would be the house people that have connections there. That's 235 users. Provides opportunities for fishing. We have fishing derby every year, the real deal. Of course, jogging. We have our turkey trot on Thanksgiving. We have a disc golf course. Lots of birds out there. We had 14 eagles there a couple of years ago. We had some pelicans in there, seagulls, every kind of shorebird, duck, wood ducks, buffleheads, everything you can imagine. I used to run the bird count for the Audubon Society, so I know a lot of birds and I love the birds. So, Kelly, are we okay? All right. So this is for the fishing derby. That lady right there caught that. I think her name is Kane. She caught that massive trout in there that was planted many years ago. This is fish that comes from the State Department of Fish and Game. You get those fish for free, and they bring them in at the end of the year because some of the higher elevation ponds and some of these reservoirs, they freeze over completely, just kill the fish. So they bring them down to our to us so people can go and have fun and catch fish. And a lot of people do that. A lot of trout or fly fishermen and people like to catch them. And they catch them and play with them while they throw them back. I never did that. I used to take them home and eat them. So it's kind of a different way to fish. But, let's see, is that it? Oh yeah, that's my buddy. That's my buddy Anson. Clarkson. He put this thing together. Let's give a hand for Anson. He did a great job.
It's the main picture of the reservoir with the fireworks. So everyone, make sure you don't miss that. Oh, those are mine. Here's right. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so next we're going to go into our rapid fire updates. And so first we want to invite Impact Utah Win. Have you come speak for a minute. Impact Utah is a nonprofit training organization that helps companies throughout the state of Utah close their performance gaps so they can grow. Their hands-on engagements help companies accelerate revenue growth, achieve operational excellence, and transform managers into inspiring leaders who work through others to deliver results. So thanks for being here today, Wynn. Wynn, of course, is joined by Julie Fisher. I know as Representative Fisher in the back. So thanks for being here.
The rapid fire portion of that he just gave. The part that I love to talk about is my background is as a business owner. I spent 30 years starting and selling businesses, so I know the pain of the fetal position before payroll when you've got more coming out of your account the next day than you have in the account. You got to tell your spouse for the 7th month in a row that you're not going to get paid. We solve those problems. We help business owners from experience be able to solve operational issues. Most businesses don't go out of business because they starve to death. They go out of business because they choke. They have indigestion. They operationally don't make money on the things that they deliver or offer. We're really good at that piece of the business. And the other part, as you mentioned, we help with leadership development. So it's top line growth, bottom line growth found through operations. And then if you want to be able to attract and retain employees in this market, that's pretty important. They'll help you be the boss they don't quit. So those are the things that Impact Utah does. We do that for all businesses in North Utah.
Thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, please visit the booths and get to know the folks there. Okay, let's Aaron Starks, World Trade Center. I'd like to turn the time over to you for a minute. And Colette, I'll invite you to come up as well. So thanks for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for providing this great event for the community. We love Kane County. World Trade Center Utah is a private organization. We've been around for about 15 years here in the state. We have the awesome space of international business to work in, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of ambiguity, but for rural communities all across the state, it's important to realize that the statewide economy, 2 of every 4 jobs in the state is tied to an export. That's how international we are. We speak 140 languages. We're among the youngest states in the entire country. 29 and a half years old is about the median age. So we're young, we're vibrant, we're innovative. There's a lot of fun things happening. Roughly half the state is dependent on tourism. We get to be the state's promotional arm. We get to go to Saudi Arabia. We get to go to China. We get to go and work with foreign dignitaries and leaders from all around the world. We get to promote Utah, and it's a lot of fun. Lastly, I would just say that what we exist to do, and our core mission is to accelerate growth for Utah companies. And so we work with companies on and off the Wasatch Front. We have a team of about 30. We're headquartered just across from the Salt Lake City Temple there in City Creek. And we get to plug in, and a typical day for me looks like sitting down with a plastic bottle manufacturer in Utah. We sit down and we say, hey, tell us about your fantastic product or service. And they say, you know what? We've been making water bottles for 30 years, and we're doing about $5 million in revenue. We're doing $50 million in revenue. And now we want to jump to Bangkok. And I say, fantastic. Why Bangkok? And they say, well, I served a mission there 30 years ago. We go, okay, let's back up. That's not a great reason to go to Bangkok, although we love going to serve missions. Instead, Let's invest company resources wisely. Let's run the econometrics. Let's pull the data. Let's give you some good, solid market research to base your decisions on. And our team will help plug in and choose your markets for you. And then from there, once you know that Bangkok or Tokyo or wherever it is, once you know that that's the region of the world you're supposed to be focusing on, you can feel really good about that. Now we'll help you get there. Any compliance or regulatory hurdles that you're going to face, if logistically you need to get 500,000 water bottles from Evergreen to Tokyo, all of those services you require, all of that expertise, either in-house through our team will provide directly or through a service provider here in the state. And we have great partners like Impact Utah. Win his team is phenomenal. And certainly from a manufacturing perspective, we like to lean on them. But we have this great ecosystem here in the state of partners who have a lot of great resources and expertise to help businesses be successful. And lastly, once we provide that consultative engagement, that advice, then we get to go and have fun. We get to get on Delta. We get to fly to Tokyo. We get to ink a deal. And we get to help you find distributors, partners, investors. And that's why we exist. So please let us be a resource. Don't think that you need to have, $1 million in revenue or 500,000, some arbitrary goal. If you want to know what international markets mean for your company, where you're at now, come engage with us. It's entirely, an engagement with us is completely free. And if we can help you through our services, we have $2 million in grant money we're giving back to the community this year. Let's give some to you and be helpful so you don't have to incur all the costs that you otherwise would to grow your business. So with that being said, thank you for having us and thank you for a great event this morning.
Yeah, if you're doing business internationally or you want to, please get to know them. So I'm going to introduce Colette Cox from the Business Resource Center in Dixie. She's going to do our next section.
Thanks, Kelly. So great to see so many friends in the audience today. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Colette Cox. I'm the Rural Outreach Manager for the Dixie State University Business Resource Center. And I serve rural Kane County and rural Washington County. And our services provide counseling for small businesses. We provide startup help. So if you have an idea but you're not quite sure what to do with it, come talk to us first. And we can help you secure your intellectual property. We have a wonderful mentor. His name is Dr. Wayne Provost. We can help you with a patent, trademark, or copyright if you need that for your business. And if you need business resources, so all of these resources lining the walls today, these are all of our partners. And so if you're not quite sure where to go, but you need a specific resource, come to me and I will make sure that you get the connection. I'd also like to highlight that we do training. And so Susie Knudson's here in the front row. We're going to hear from her in a minute. But we operate for free. Our services are free, by the way, free to you. We operate through a grant through the EDA. And we have a partnership with SUU. And we have a program called Better Your Business. And you'll be seeing more and more training throughout the year. This is money that we got from COVID funds, and we'll be implementing this training for the next 12 months and beyond. So look for that. It's going to be really exciting. And again, my booth is just over here in the corner, and I hope you'll pick up my business card and call for an appointment with me. Today, I'm also representing the Chamber of Commerce. Most of you know me, if you do know me, through the Chamber of Commerce here in Kanab. I've worked with the Chamber for too many years to count, but I currently serve as the Vice President. And we have Pat Guerrero here over in the corner, and she is our current serving president, and we have Matt Claflin that serves as our Secretary Treasurer. Matt wasn't able to be here today, he apologizes, but the Chamber is a networking organization. We host lunches every month. We've changed them from the second Tuesday to the second Thursday, and that's because we wanted to avoid conflict with the commission meetings. But I understand that they just recently changed again. and Andy is still here. We need to have our elected officials there. We need to have our county and our city representatives at the chamber meetings because that's where you can talk to them. Sometimes you can't always get to the council meetings, but The chamber brings people together, including business owners and our elected officials. And so we hope that you'll come and participate in those lunch events. We also host special events like our election forum, our job fairs. We help with the summit every year. And we even host forums on special topics like water and housing. So providing information that was coming out from the federal and the state level. Again, we provide a connection from all of the state, federal, and community resources to our business communities. So if I haven't given you enough reasons to join the chamber at this point, go and talk to Pat. She can sign you up for the chamber and she'll convince you even further. So as part of my presentation today, I really wanted to highlight some of our new businesses. And so go to that next slide. We're very excited about the businesses that are coming to Kanab. We're excited about the entrepreneurs that are joining our community and some of our homegrown entrepreneurs too. First, I'd like to highlight Kanab e-bike. We've got Jake Placeman, just wave to everyone really quick. He's back helping us with our filming. He's making sure that everybody out on the internet can participate today as well. So Kanab e-bikes is located on Center Street next to Gary Realty. And Jake offers e-bike rentals, electric scooters, and repairs on all bike-powered vehicles and even wheelchairs. So go and check out Kanab e-bikes. And then next we have Archie's Food to Die For. Do we have Stacy and Merlin in the audience today? They're probably running their business. So after 25 years of building caskets, Stacy and Merlin wanted to launch a new venture. So right now they're the only year-round eatery in the Valley area. They're located in Orderville, and they have winter hours Monday through Thursday, 11 to 5. And their food is to die for. How many of you have been there? Raise your hand. Yeah, I think you would all agree. Even Wynn's been there. Even Wynn. So the next business I'd like to highlight is Journey Farms. Loretta, would you stand up for just a minute? So this is Loretta Clayson. She is a flower farmer and floral designer, and she grows over 80 varieties of heirloom and specialty flowers. She provides a seasonal bouquet subscription. She also can help you with your special occasions, weddings, birthdays, things like that. Or if you own a business like a restaurant or a hotel and want to really have a nice welcome to your guests, talk to Loretta. She'll make sure that you have fresh flowers every week. And then the next business I'd like to highlight is Havana Cabana. This business is owned by Chris and Sissy Reed. Are you here today, Chris or Sissy? Again, I'm sure they're running their business. They started with a food truck here in the area several years ago, and in May of 2021, they moved into the Medra 2 building, the stoplight here in town. Sissy grew up in Havana, Cuba, and then Chris, while he was serving on an LDS mission, they prepare traditional recipes, and it is very good. If you haven't been there, it's so craveable. You must put it on your list. Next, we have a business called Small Town Sage. Melissa Kate, but was holding that big trout that Mike pointed out. She owns this business, Small Town Sage. It's located on Center Street, right near Jake's shop, the e-bike shop. My gift shop, she has different types of gifts and crystals and apparel. And so take the time to go and visit Small Town Sage. It's been wildly popular. Again, how many people have shopped there and stopped in? Lots of hands. The next one that I'd like to highlight is Spencer Brothers Feed. They're located in Orderville. This business is owned by Colby and Austin Spencer, and they supply Southern Utah with all livestock feed needs from grain to supplements. So again, you can see the variety of businesses that are starting in our area, and the sky's the limit at this point. We've got a high population moving in. We've got some providers that are aging out, maybe they're retiring or selling their businesses or closing their businesses, which gives you an opportunity as entrepreneurs to start new businesses. So that's, Spencer Brothers are onto something. Next we have Sandstone Sky Picnic Company. Natalie still in the audience? She just left. She's a busy woman. So if you know Natalie Barney, she runs the Studio 12 Dance Company. She also helps with the Kanab High School drill team. And she started this new business this year. And she provides luxury picnic experiences in beautiful Southern Utah settings. So as you can see, just gorgeous. And kind of fun for a birthday or for special guests who come in from out of town. And last but not least, I'd like to highlight Hallows and Company. Anthony, if you want to stand up just really quick for a minute, Anthony's back in the corner. So Anthony White has worked in hospitality for over 15 years, and he's a native of Southern Utah, so he knows our industry and he knows the area very well. He will be offering consultation services to hospitality businesses. His goal is to help you gain efficiencies and maximize your profits. And that looks different for everyone here in the audience, but Anthony really is an expert, so I hope that you'll go visit him today before you leave and talk about how you can get him into your business to do an evaluation and see what he can do for you. And I'm going to give a little plug also for Carrie Sigler. Carrie, would you mind standing up? So we have a huge business opportunity here in Kane County. We have a much needed service. So in my line of business, what we talk about, what we start with for entrepreneurs is we talk about a problem, a solution provided by your business. So a problem that we have here in Southern Utah is we don't have any childcare. How many of you have tried to find childcare for your kids or your grandkids? Your hands. So it is difficult, isn't it? So we need some childcare providers. I actually owned a childcare business 25 years ago, and I made almost as much money as I make today. It was a great business then, it's a great business now. And you do have to have a love for children, of course, but there's also a great business side to it. So stop in and talk to Carrie if you or if you know anyone who's interested in starting a childcare business here in Kane County. Because again, it's one of those businesses that's really, really needed. That's pretty much all I have today, but again, it's just really exciting to see the couples that are running businesses, the next generation business owners. We're seeing a lot of businesses being passed down to the second or third generation. We have a lot of women entrepreneurs here in Kane County, which is super exciting for me. So I hope that you'll keep up with the chamber. I hope that you'll visit me at the Business Resource Center. And now I'd like to invite my friends up. Susie Knudsen, could put you on deck. And then also Casey Covered from the Women's Business Center of Utah will have you go after Susie.
So a few years ago, a very unique partnership formed between SU and Dixie, a university partnership through our innovation centers, and we were able to get some grant funding through the US EBA to develop Better Your Business Express that Colette mentioned earlier. And through Better Your Business Express, we've been able to train hundreds of employers and employees in many areas. The Better Your Business Express was designed to help empower business owners and to develop training to help businesses and employees thrive in post-pandemic and post-COVID worlds. Some of the trainings that we developed and offered included branding, marketing, shifting to an online marketplace, finding ways to fund your business and things through government funding, and we also developed some leadership training during the One Utah Summit last October. Better Your Business Express was able to provide leadership training during the Leadership Day portion of the conference, which was a great success. And including the Better Your Business Express, Southern Utah University has, through our professional development, we have many trainings that are on the shelf that are available anytime. Right now, we have a certificate that is a Parks and Tourism certificate that is very relevant to the conversations that we've had earlier today and can provide employers and employees training in tourism and in parks and public land stewardship. We have 2 cohorts that are starting in February, and in April, and it's a 6-week certificate training that 3 weeks we dive into hospitality, tourism, customer service, and then 3 weeks that are focused on public land stewardship. So it's a great way to have your employees learn about these areas, and also if you work in the industry to upskill and get a refresher on some of this information. Like Colette said, Better Your Business Express and SUU, we provide training. We can also create custom training for your employees or for business. SUU, we've partnered with many to create such trainings. One of our partners is Best Friends. We were able to develop custom training for those working in animal services, and we've trained many Best Friends employees. And now I think we have students in 40 states across the country who have taken the animal services training. So if you have any training needs, if you have employees that may be interested in taking Parks and Tourism certificate, please come and see me, and I'm happy to help. Thank you.
Casey, you're next. And then Southwest Tech, Isaac, or I put Scott on the spot more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's so nice to be here today and represent the Women's Business Center of Utah. We are actually passionate about helping women business owners launch their big ideas or grow their business. So we offer business consulting and coaching to women-owned businesses. We have tons of online workshops and classes that are available. We're backed by the SBA, so we have resources for funding. If any of you are needing connections and stuff like that, come over and see me over here in the corner. Let's see what else we do. We do tons of networking events, and we're really trying to grow southern and eastern Utah. So I'm based out of St. George, but they're sending me all over into these smaller rural communities, which I absolutely love because that's my background. And getting into growing some of the networking and the women-owned businesses. So let me know how I can support you, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much. We'll invite Scott to come up and talk about custom fit training and some of the business support services offered by Southwest Tech.
Thanks. I was fully prepared to hang out and just watch everyone else do this today. So Scott Levitt, I'm with Southwest Tech. One of our main programs that we offer for businesses is called Custom Fit. Anyone in here used Custom Fit before? Several hands. Good, that's good, most people. If you haven't, Custom Fit can help not only customize your training for your employees, we can help pay for it. So up to 40% of that cost we can cover. That's just not training to do with Southwest Tech. That's any training, almost any training that you're doing for your businesses. So if you're traveling, going to a conference, if you're attending the Better Your Business with Susie, any of that's covered. So we can help out with those trainings. In addition, Southwest Tech is offering short-term trainings here for businesses. We have a flyer over here in our booth. We typically do QuickBooks, leadership, Excel, all sorts of training like that. If there's anything that you specifically need, we can also put those together for you. So come talk to us at our booth, meet me and Tessa. They're running this department now, and thanks for putting me on the spot.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. And we actually have some other training money that we can match with Southwest Tech to further reduce the cost. So if you have training needs, please let us know. We'd be happy to accommodate them. So next, we'd like to hear from David Keaton, the Public Information Officer for Southwest Health. And with all the rising COVID cases that's kind of been dominating the media lately, we thought it would be a good idea to hear directly from our health professionals who cover this area. And really appreciate you being here today. I understand you had a little accident this morning coming over treacherous roads. So thanks for
braving the mean streets to be here.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It was actually before it was the mean streets of Cedar City before I got out of town. But I appreciate you hearing me even late here. It's nice to be here in Kanab. Again, my name is David Keaton. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Southwest Utah Public Health Department that covers the 5 counties of this corner of the state, including Kane, Washington, Iron, Beaver, and Garfield. And I'm here on behalf of our Director and Health Officer, Dr. David Blodgett, who's also a Southern Utah native. He's unable to make it today, but he sends his best wishes. And so we've been fortunate during this time of doing what we have been tasked to do as the Public Health Department during the pandemic, of having a health officer that's one of only 2 actual doctors, an MD, who's a health officer in the state of Utah. There are 13 local public health departments in the state. We're one of them, and we're fortunate to have him. Johns Hopkins trained, returned to Southern Utah where he lives. And from day one of this pandemic, I remember the first day when it was sort of declared a pandemic, and he said, "Looks like it's coming our way." He pulled me in his office 2 years ago, and he said a few things that have caused a little bit of grief for him, but he's held strong the whole time as far as being very moderate. He said they better not do wholesale shutdowns. They better not shut down schools. They better not do any mandates. And he said we need to ride through this thing and take a moderate measure and protect the vulnerable. And we think we know we've done something right, because I think we've ticked off and offended every philosophy or opinion regarding this pandemic, left, right, or what have you. And so I think I'd have a hard time again working for any other health department. I've appreciated his guidance and leadership. It's because of him and also other government and policy leaders in the state of Utah that Utah actually is probably the top state as far as economic recovery and least economic damage during the pandemic, even though there definitely has been some damage to businesses and livelihoods. There's something about the approach of the state and even down here with our government that I think has worked well for most of our citizens. So what I'd like to do today is take a few minutes to just give you an update of where we're in the pandemic, where it's going, our current recommendation, maybe even answer a couple questions. So to begin with, as you know, we're now in our the COVID-19 pandemic. The whole goal from the beginning of people who were into epidemiology and studying pandemics is you want a pandemic, which by definition is something that spreads worldwide, person to person, can cause serious health injuries. So it met all those qualifications. You want a pandemic to become endemic. Endemic meaning that it's just a disease part of the landscape that's there, but it's not really serious, like the common cold. So a lot of the common colds that we have now are coronaviruses. They actually got their start as a novel coronavirus. That's where we expect this thing to go. And you'll know that that's happening the early end of the pandemic when you see variants coming out that spread very quickly, that are very contagious, but are quite mild as far as symptoms. If that sounds familiar to you, that's the Omicron variant, right? So this, for people who are educated in public health, is actually potentially good news and very optimistic. They came out of South Africa. They're already seeing their peak of Omicron heading down. The East Coast has already seen a plateau. Right now, though, it's just hit Utah over the past week or so. Utah shares, I think it's us, Alaska, and Idaho, that as of yesterday were the top 3 states in the nation of high spread of COVID-19. But we estimate that probably 70 to 90% of our current cases of infections are of the Omicron variant. And again, that's good news because for most people it's very mild, maybe even asymptomatic, very mild for people and especially for kids. And as you probably know, the pandemic has not really affected kids a whole lot. We've only had, right now, for instance, in our district, we only have 2 minors in the hospital. And in the state of Utah, we've only had 3 children pass away that were under the age of 12. And that, of course, is not good news. We regret anyone that's died from this. We now have 515 people just in our 5-county district pass away due to COVID-19. But this largely spares younger people. This is a disease that targets folks that are older, 65 and older. The closer I get to that age, it doesn't sound so old, but people that are older and also people with certain underlying health conditions. About 40% of the people who died in Utah were care center residents. And so it targets a very vulnerable population, and that's why efforts should certainly be focused on protecting that group. But as far as where we're at now, we are really hoping that the Omicron variant indicates that the pandemic is starting to develop into something that spreads quickly, but is very mild, and within the next year or so, could actually join the other common colds that go around every cold and flu season. As far as there being continued boosters or vaccines recommended, that's yet to be seen. Right now, our recommendation is that everyone eligible get vaccinated and get boosted, mainly because with the Omicron variant, it appears to have some resistance to the normal vaccines, but vaccines still are better than nothing, and a booster seems to put the protection level back up to around 80% against being hospitalized. And so a lot of people, and I don't blame anyone right now for mistrusting the government or public health, because from day one it was a communications nightmare. And even though a lot of efforts nationally, state, and locally were well intended, there were some mixed messages, there were some changes as far as masks were concerned. We heard masks won't do you any good. Up to the point we'll wear 2 or 3 or 4 masks. And a lot of people have become a little bit jaded as far as messages that we get from public health. So that's been our burden to bear. We've tried to sort those out and give the best recommendations possible. For some, we've done too much. For some, we haven't done enough, at least locally. But where we stand now is that we've had a 500% increase in COVID-19 cases over the past 2 weeks. Most of them are Omicron. What they do is out of all the tests they do every day in Utah, they take about 30% of those and sequence them further to see what variant they are. And they're able to estimate based on those percentages what the rest are. So they feel pretty safe saying that it's mostly Omicron right now, taking over from the Delta variant, which was fairly serious for people as far as symptoms and then vulnerable people being hospitalized or losing their life. So as of yesterday, we had 85 people currently hospitalized in our 5-county district. Most of them are in St. George Regional Medical Center. They take the lion's share of those. That almost hits a record. That's pretty high for hospitalizations. So if you see a graph showing the original pandemic, we had a little bump in the summer, a big spike last winter, a little summer spike, and then a fall spike, and it would look like we were going down. Then Omicron hit and just escalated and blew everything out of the water. It was a really steep heading up a roller coaster. But what goes up must come down, and it's estimated we'll probably start going down by January for southwestern Utah. Cases aren't as big a deal as hospitalizations and deaths, and so that's why we continue to look at those. So far, the Omicron variant, when you look at it, has a lower rate of putting people in the hospital or killing people. There's been very few deaths in the United States so far, but because of sheer numbers of people getting infected, in fact, it's so contagious that it's estimated that most of you here either have been or will be exposed to the Omicron variant, either now or over the next few weeks. It just spreads like wildfire. But a lot of people won't even notice symptoms. Some will have a few sniffles or mild cold, but it will get some vulnerable people and will continue to add hospitalizations. And so that's why we still encourage people to consider vaccination, consider staying home if you're sick, a wise use of social distancing and that type of thing. But we hope that this current surge will not have a corresponding rate in hospitalization and death rates, which so far those have been fairly low in South Africa and the United Kingdom and other places where Omicron has already surged and going down. We've had over the past week, we do a weekly report now, by the way. I don't know if any of you have been to our website, swuhealth.org. Every week on Thursday afternoons, we put a weekly report out updating on all the numbers and per county, how many cases we've had over the past 2 weeks and what level of transmission you're in. All 5 of our counties right now are in high level of transmission. We're starting to go down. Kane County got down to moderate, even low, but then everything shot back up again. We also post that every Thursday on our Facebook page under SW Health, as far as social media is concerned. We had 9 people die over the past week. That's about the same it was the week before. It's been as high as 17 in weeks before. Right now, I think I mentioned before, we have had 515 people as of yesterday, residents who the vast majority of them would still be here if it wasn't for COVID-19. Most of them were folks that were in the range of 65 or above, but we are starting to see hospitalizations and deaths more common in people that are in the 45 to 65 age range. Most of these people had underlying health conditions, and even though generally most people who get COVID-19 are going to be fine, not go to the hospital, some of these families have been a little hurt when we say things like, well, they were getting old anyway, or something would have got them, the flu would have got them. It's still been pretty tough. That's a lot of people. If you consider over 500 people in 5 counties. Kane County, it's been 14 people in this community. Those people usually have friends and family that are grieving after those people still would be here. So we certainly want to respect and be thoughtful of those, but at the same time, we try to toe the line of telling people one of the best things you can do for COVID-19 is do the things you recommended and don't watch the news and get outdoors more. Because especially big media has been in the business of a lot of fear tactics and things that actually have either been exaggerated or untrue. At times where we've tried to be optimistic, we've actually been bashed and ripped apart a little bit by how dare you talk about the good news. And so it's been an interesting line to toe as we go through this of telling people what the risks are, which people are vulnerable, but at the same time, the bright spots here. There are some silver linings here. As far as schools are concerned, you probably heard that schools have to go to a test to stay policy in Utah. In our district, there's no school with over 1,500 students, and so it has to have at least 30 students test positive over the past week in the school, and it goes to test to stay. We haven't even, none of our schools have reached near that mark, despite having school in person and not having mask mandated in schools. As of yesterday, however, the governor did approve for school districts if they want to go Omicron surge. Generally, kids have largely been quite safe and not as affected by this as older folks. Now, the most vulnerable people are, again, age 65 and above. So good news is, though, around 75 to 80% of that population in our district have been fully vaccinated, and so they're as protected as they can be. It's found now that the best form of immunity is having had COVID naturally and being vaccinated and boosted. But at the same time, we don't encourage people to go have COVID parties. You probably read about that in the news, because once in a while, you beat the odds and it can get through to a younger person or someone in perfectly good health and send them to the hospital. Or in the case of Cedar City, we had a principal of a high school who was picture of health, a young father in his late 30s, early 40s, who within a week or so just dropped dead of I think it was stroke or heart failure. So it was one of those rare circumstances where COVID breaks through and takes somebody that you wouldn't expect. So even though there is some risk, we're still encouraging people to take a moderate stance. And even the CDC is now recommending that if you have COVID or been exposed, that instead of 10 days of isolation and quarantine, reduce that to 5, because they found that most of the transmission is in the first few days that you're sick when you're infecting other people. And they're finally recognizing that we need to balance running things to keep the economy going. That mass draconian shutdowns do not work and probably do more harm than good. You can see an example of that if you compare New York and Florida, a very different way they handled the virus. Not a really big difference in how the virus actually affected those states. By doing vaccines and mass social distancing, we can protect individuals. You can't slow the spread, but you can't stop the pandemic. Pandemics will spread. And there was some people who were shocked when they said, I basically was a hermit in my house for a year. I wore a mask, I wore gloves, I did all these things, and somehow it still got to me. So those things are tools that can help increase your chance of not being infected and staying out of the hospital. But it's also, we have to be realistic and realize that this will spread and hopefully peter out over the next year. There's a lot of other numbers and figures that I can share with you, but basically, as far as vaccinations, we've done over 4.5 million doses at this point. That includes people who've had a 2-shot series or boosters. Southwest, we've done over 280,000. In Kane County, there's been 8,000 doses of vaccine given out over the past 2 years. Between us, Zion Pharmacy, Kanab Drug, and Revere Health. There's about 450 of those folks who are at least 7 weeks overdue for a second shot and 2-shot series. So again, we encourage people with new variants, if you haven't got your second shot or a booster, do that, because again, that can raise your protection. It's fallen to around 30%, back up to 80 or so. And again, it's not necessarily going to stop you from getting the virus. It's great effective in helping keep you out of the hospital. So most people can recover at home with the virus just like they would influenza or another cold, unless there's medical problems that arise. As far as vaccines here, they're available at our health department office on, I think it's 445 North Main here in Kanab. They're free of charge every Wednesday. It's just walk in from 10 to 3. Then there are also some local pharmacies that offer that. We as health department have not been enthusiastically supportive of any mandates, whether that's been shots or vaccines, because we believe they're wise. It's a good thing to do, but you have to understand, read the room and understand your culture. And we believe that mandates will probably tend to sometimes do more harm than good, where people probably are in their positions rather than being open to education and learning more about the risks of those kind of interventions. So that's another step Dr. Rogers has gotten into some hot water, but I think, again, taking a moderate, steady path the whole time, I think has served our district quite well. That's about all I have. I'm hoping to go over time as well. Is any questions or any couple questions that people have? Yeah, right back here.
The FDA has approved 3 monoclonal antibodies and also 1 antiviral. What's the therapeutic recommendations?
Those have been actually proven quite quickly to be remarkably effective. The monoclonal antibody treatment, especially if you're high risk, that and the pill that Pfizer just put out are highly recommended. It's getting to them. So I think Utah got 400 doses of that last month, and those have already been given out to high-risk people. So they're sort of trickling in as far as that prescription antiviral pill, the monoclonal antibody treatment. Clinic in St. George offers that currently, but sometimes it can be hard to qualify to get that. Other states, they've been rolling that out for months. So we've been a little bit behind on some of those therapeutic treatments. Interestingly enough, a common antidepressant, fluvoxamine, used to be Luvox, it's been around for 20 years, $4 a month pill. Works almost as good, so they're going to start prescribing that off label. If a person takes that for 10 days, twice a day, reduces chance of death by 90% and need for intensive care by 65%. So we've never looked at a disease or anything so closely or tried many things. Some have flopped, some are controversial, and some have been remarkable surprises. So, another question? Yeah.
I had a question. I was exposed to and then I came to town, got
That's a good question, is having to pay for a test $50 and it basically is where you go. So for instance, in St. George and Cedar City right now, you can go to certain sites and get the tests for free. It's state funded. Right. And so, so where do you live? Oh, Pike Springs, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's where my grandpa grew up. Where that's at, yeah. That's a good question. So when you live in a more rural community, it does place a greater burden to find a place where A, to get a test, and B, to have to pay $50 to get it for free. So that depends on if it's a private provider like a pharmacy versus a state-funded site. So that's a common problem you mentioned. Okay, so she brought up that sometimes your insurance will reimburse you if you can. It's that might be worth a shot, seeing if insurance will reimburse the cost of the test. Yeah. Any other questions? I appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if you had roots in Kane County because you are in this region because you have the right last name. So I'm sure you have lots of family. But thank you again for being here and for your information. So now we'd like to hear from Ryan Starks and Dan Anderson. We invite them up. I think it's important for us to hear from our state leaders, and they're not nameless, faceless bureaucrats that sit in an office telling people no all the time. But they're real people, and I really appreciate Ryan and Ned being back right away with both of them. And Ryan, in a previous life, was the economic development director for Heber Valley. So he's got a lot of experience in economic development. They survived the transition. We have a new governor, of course, and there's been a number of changes at the state and new program offerings. And Nan lives in Wayne County, so not too far away. And Nan left tourism, has been with the governor's office for several years. I was actually on the hiring panel when Nan applied and was thrilled that she was there and I was all in. And it's been a great thing ever since. So thank you for being here. And we want to hear everything you know.
When he said a nameless, faceless bureaucrat, he looked right at me and I wasn't sure, like, was that a subliminal message or what, Kelly? But my name's Ryan Starks. I'm the Managing Director of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. And I'm here today with my colleague, Dan Anderson, and we're really excited to just share some updates about our office and what we're seeing at the state level. So first, let me just tell you that my wife and I love Kane County. It's a special place. My wife's ancestors came from this area. In fact, they're buried here in Kanab. They constructed a house in Mount Carmel in the 1930s that's still there. And so it's a very special place, especially for my wife when she reads about her family history. And so we like to come down and take in all the good things that Kanab has. So what's the name of this first picture, that tunnel behind me? And I'm going to give somebody a Utah coin, okay? Belly of the Dragon. Camille, is that correct? Okay, here's, I'm going to come get this. Okay, but my understanding is before it was called Belly of the Dragon, it was called what, Camille? The colon. So I think she played a role in helping to rebrand that for the better. Okay, where am I in the second picture? Anybody know? Okay, don't smoke. And I had the chance to go out there for a dinner a couple of years ago. So here's a coin for you. And then finally, that last picture. Any guesses? Heber Valley. No, not Heber Valley. Okay, East Zion area, overlooking East Zion. And love that area. So thank you. I'll just keep this coin. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly and sincerely thank Kane County leadership and just let everybody in this room know what a great job and what a great team you have, specifically Commissioners Chamberlain, Kane, and Keaton. They're rock stars and they're very highly respected among the state. And then as we look at Kelly Stoll, all rural counties are not created equal. They have challenges, they have struggles. Kelly is a real leader in this space and is doing a great job. So I hope you appreciate your own local boy. He's doing a really good job. And then Camille Taylor as well is a rock star and very highly respected among the tourism space. And just wanted to give them a big shout out. And then just to have a little bit more fun before I jump into some slides, just to kind of get to know me a little bit, I like to play a game called Two Truths and One Lie. Have you heard of that game? So I'm going to tell you three things. One of them is a complete lie. Okay, and so I want you to figure out what that is. So first, I once attended a film trade show with Kelly Stoll in Los Angeles. We met a lot of great people and had a wonderful time. Two, I first met Camille Taylor in a film set where she was a shampoo model for a commercial. We struck up a conversation and both learned about our passion for tourism. And then three, I once drove a twin turbocharged Ford GT with 700 horsepower here at the Kanab City Airport. So two truths, one lie. Okay, so you're saying number three is a lie. What else? Two's a lie. Number one's a lie. So let's just vote on it, right? Isn't that the way we figure out problems? Just majority wins, problem solved. So who thinks that I did not attend a trade show in Los Angeles with Kelly? Okay. Okay, who thinks I did not first meet Camille as a shampoo hair model? Okay. I mean, show them your hair, Camille. Okay. Three, who thinks I did not drive a twin turbocharged Ford GT with 700 horsepower here at the airport? Okay, wow. Well, I did drive that. It was a life-changing experience. And I know we have some laws in the audio. I don't know how fast we went, but it was really cool. I did go to a trade show with Kelly in a previous life, and I did not first meet Camille as a shampoo hair model, but we're going to come back to that point a little later, okay? The Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Some of you may have heard of the name, previously called GOED, or the Governor's Office of Economic Development. So Governor Cox, when he came into the office, wanted to kind of change the focus a little bit. And when I say development, what comes to your mind? Thoughts? Real estate? Growth? Okay. So there's a lot of different things that maybe come to mind, and they're not bad things, right? But the governor wanted to focus on opportunity. So if you're in a small rural county, if you're in a large city, that you have access to the same opportunities across the board, whether that be in business, whether that be in education, or you name it. And so we decided that we would change the name to the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Now, I know you're going to say, okay, if it's not GoEd, then it's GoEO, right? And let's all admit that GoEO sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it? And so, as a new moniker, we go by Go Utah, or the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. And who are we? We're the stewards of the world's best economy and quality of life. So we really do everything that we can to protect what's important to us here in Utah. And that's the wonderful quality of life that we enjoy while being stewards. And that word's really powerful because we don't want to just be program managers that hand out money and develop and just build, but we want to be thoughtful in our approach, providing economic opportunities. We cultivate prosperity. So we work with partners, we collaborate, we help cultivate that prosperity at the local level. We future-proof Utah's economy. We try to look down the road. Not what are just our needs today, but how can we prepare for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years? And then we take pride in working with business at the speed of business. Sometimes you think, as Kelly indicated, oh, he's a faceless, nameless bureaucrat, right? And it's going to take 12 months before I get my contract signed. Well, we really take pride in working with business at the speed of business, making sure that we're available, that we have faces and names. So as we think about where we're going as a state, and as I get ready to describe some changes, I thought it would be nice to first consider where we've been. So as many of you know, Utah has been the place economically in the United States. We see a few rankings here. We've been the #1 best state for GDP growth, the best economy by WallaHub, the best economy by U.S. News and World Report, #3 top state for business, CNBC, best economic outlook, and also the best, and we have several best performing cities. And so the accolades come in, we like to celebrate and say, look how special we are, right? We know we have challenges though, and that's really why we're trying to future-proof our economy. In 2019, the most recent data that we have suggests that Utah was the most diverse economy. And that's measured by looking at GDP and density within certain sectors to determine how diverse are we, what jobs, what economic output we have within our economy. We're very diverse, the most diverse state. And if we were to rewind time and go back 30 years, probably wouldn't be #1 most diverse state. But that's something that we can take pride in. But we, again, know that we have a lot of work to do. Okay, in November 2021, the unemployment rate in Utah was 2.1. And we may say, yay, that's awesome, like, cool. That's the challenges you as business owners know. It's hard to find workforce. Okay, but we are growing our jobs here in the state. Locally, for Kane County, as of September, your unemployment rate was right on par with the state's at 2.5%. So that means you have a lot of people in the workforce, and many of the businesses are probably looking for additional workers. When Governor Cox was elected, he assembled a team of more than 100 people to solicit ideas about what could the state do, what should the future of Utah look like. In partnership with these individuals, the Cox administration released something called the One Utah Roadmap that dictates where we're going to go as a state over the next 5 years. In that, he focused on 6 key priorities, as you can see here, including economic advancement, education, innovation, advancement, rural matters, health security, equality and opportunity, and streamlining and modernizing state government. So this first point of economic advancement, that's the one that I'd like to focus on just for a moment. It further breaks down the key priorities. How do we advance our economy in a meaningful way? And so we looked at several key factors, including talent development. What are we doing as a state to make sure that our kids are prepared to fill those jobs of the future? Are we providing them the necessary skill set? We also talked about what industries do we need to focus on? Is it aerospace and defense? Is it tourism? Is it energy? What can we do as a state to move the needle to attract the best talent to provide jobs for our workforce? Also, Governor Cox is very big on innovation and entrepreneurship. So sometimes there's this idea that over the past decade, and maybe it's fair criticism, that Utah just brings in out-of-state companies. That we just bring in these huge corporations, look at Lehigh, look at Silicon Slopes. It's cool, but it's congested. Is that our growth plan? So the governor really wants to focus on organic growth. So, and I always use Kane County as the example, so that as we talk about different economic development strategies, maybe Kane County doesn't want to go recruit that huge manufacturing company, but maybe they want to work with the local residents who want to start the business and hire 10 or 20 people and grow and have a meaningful impact in the community. And that's a great model as well. The fourth point is infrastructure investment. And I'm going to talk about a program that addresses this need, but many of our rural counties don't have access to necessary infrastructure: water, sewer, fiber broadband, you name it. And then sustainable growth promotion, and finally, fiscal responsibility. With all of that in mind, as some context, the governor also put together something called the Unified Economic Commission. And so in the past, we will see the governor's office kind of lead out exclusively on all things, engage the Speaker of the House and the Senate President, and pull together leaders from various state agencies and private businesses, cities, counties. And now they form this commission. And the commission has developed several key priorities and has established several subcommittees, including business and economic development, talent, education, and industry alignment. And you notice that a lot of these also correspond to the One Utah Roadmap. We have the Rural Economic Growth Committee, Sustainable Community Growth, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, Multicultural Empowerment, and International Relations, Trade, and Immigration. And so there's a subcommittee with maybe a dozen or two recommendations, experts within the space. And so now that we're gearing up for the legislative session, which starts next Tuesday, there are some very actionable items that we will see through legislation as a result of this committee. Okay, as we talked about one of these key points of industry alignment, we partnered with our friends at the Economic Development Corporation of Utah, so I'm here, and put together a report that shows that Utah's success in terms of key industries are aerospace and defense, financial services, software and information technology, life sciences and healthcare innovation, and advanced manufacturing as true clusters or targeted industries. Now, you may not see tourism on here, but there's also two key priorities. Maybe it's not a targeted industry, it's a priority. That is tourism, and that's also energy development. Okay, so now looking forward, I'd like to highlight a few of the programs that belong to our office and discuss some new things happening with them. So there's a group called the Utah Innovation Center that's part of our team at Go Utah, and they work closely with businesses that want to commercialize, have a technology, they want to commercialize and scale their business. And so the federal government has 7 different grant programs called SBIRs or STTRs, and many businesses don't know about these grants. And so what our team does is work with these companies to match them to the grants. They coach them, they assist them. The company then applies for the grant. We have a 27% win rate, which nationwide is actually very high, very impressive. So that's just one resource. So why do I talk about them? Well, we were able to launch a new program called UTIF, Utah Technology Innovation Fund this year, which offers grant money, match grant money, to those companies that receive SBIR funding. So if a company receives a $500,000 grant from the government, the state of Utah can also match up to a certain percent. And there is a segment or piece that kind of entice them to do more in this space. So we also have the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, or PTAC, classic government acronym, right? But PTAC is one of our most useful programs. What it does is it connects small businesses with federal and local and state government contracts. So if you have some type of company, you want to do business with the government, we have PTAC officers that can help coach you through the process and match you with those bid opportunities with the government. And in fact, we have a PTAC officer located in St. George who's also responsible for this area. So happy to connect anybody with him. Joshua's here? Okay, so Cam is no longer with us. Cam is part of the SPDC. He's our, and I didn't see Cam, good to see you, buddy. Cam was our PTAC regional manager, and we lost him to the Small Business Development Center, and we replaced him with a person named Joshua Williams. So you'll get to know Joshua here shortly. Something new as well is I think COVID really demonstrated the need for high quality internet across the state, especially in rural areas. So last legislative session, the legislature and the governor's office partnered to relaunch the Utah Broadband Center with a $10 million grant to go to last mile installation of broadband connectivity in rural Utah. So this process has begun of granting money out to the various communities to help provide that last mile of high-speed internet. Okay, so one of our offices within Go Utah is called the Center for Rural Development, or the CRD. And many of you have probably never heard of these programs, and that's probably a good thing, right? But we typically work with the county economic development staff, in this case it would be Kelly, to administer various programs. So I was in a meeting with the governor where we had this book full of all these different programs, and he said, this is money. We don't need an encyclopedia of government programs for a small business. They're busy. They have a lot going on. Can't we just simplify the process? So this year, through some strategic planning, there's an effort to kind of consolidate. So some of you may have heard of the Rural Fast Track Program. You've heard of that, Kelly. The Business Expansion and Retention Program is called BEAR. Rural Rapid Manufacturing Grant. There's an Enterprise Zone Program, the Enterprise Zone Program for nonprofits, a Targeted Business Tax Credit. Am I putting anybody to sleep yet? A lot of programs with a lot of technical details. In some cases, it might be that Orrville qualifies, but Kanab doesn't. Or that one county qualifies because their median income is right at the targeted level, but the next one over doesn't because they make $1 more per hour. And so there's just a lot of inconsistencies with these programs. And in order to kind of streamline, we focused on rolling these into something called the Rural County Grant Program. And I'll talk about what that means here in a minute. The two blue programs, READY, or the Rural Economic Development Incentive, and the RCIC, the Rural Co-working Innovation Center, these are quality programs, and we don't want to lose the value. So instead of just getting rid of them, we're recommending that we roll the dollar amount associated with these programs into the Rural County Grant Program. Okay, what is the Rural County Grant Program, you ask? Okay, it is a fund that goes to rural counties. And basically, instead of the state saying you have to meet your business needs to our program, we're saying, you know what, we've heard the feedback over the years that we want to empower the locals more, so here's your block grant. So this program provides every rural county with a $200,000 block grant. So hypothetically, Kelly could apply for this money and could hear a concert in the park. We want to recruit this company and help provide grants to small businesses to hire employees. That's his, or that's Kane County's economic plan. Great. You notice who's missing from the equation? The state. We're not here to tell you how to do your job. We know that your needs are local and they should be locally driven. Okay, Rural County Part B. This is the competitive piece, grant money to where, in this case, Kelly or Keaton County, as you know, we really need infrastructure to build a business park. And we'd like to apply for a $500,000 grant from the state. There's a piece to it. There's a community development piece to it. There's a group that reviews the grants and may recommend funding that project. And then something that's coming new this session is a bill to consider building out a $50 million revolving infrastructure loan fund. So what does that mean? Okay, going back to this example of Kane County says, we want to build a business park. They apply for Part B, they don't get the funding for whatever reason because the dollars are finite. Well, the county commission can submit an application to say we need $10 million to build out the infrastructure to support a new business park. That includes internet, water, you name it. Okay, we have the land, we just need to put in infrastructure. Well, the state then will have this fund and can administer this very low cost interest loan to Kane County with certain, repayment requirements. And that over 10 or 20 years, the county pays back the state, but is now able to install the infrastructure, attract the companies, build the business park, and it's a win-win-win. So that's something that we're going to see. There's a separate program called Red TIF. Dan's going to talk a little bit about that, but basically it's a tax credit that we just modified. It took years and years and years to get there, but just this past year, modified it so that if you're a rural business looking to expand, to build a building, to hire new employees, that there's a significant tax rebate to you. And it's not a cash grant, but you perform, then the state rebates you a percentage of your own tax dollars that you put into the project. All right, almost done. So a few more things I wanted to focus on. We've also recalibrated our outreach strategy. So we have 3 dynamic outreach managers, Nan Anderson being one of them. We also have James Dixon and Eden Johnson. And their goal is to now work closely with each of the counties and to help them with the technical assistance. So there's a question about a grant or who should we talk to about this opportunity? They're going to be the technical experts. Nan specifically works closely with these southern Utah counties, including Kane County, and it's just a real rock star. So if you don't know Nan, get to know Nan. We're going to do a song and dance, but we decided against it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate your time. Thank you. And I'm going to turn the time over to Nan. Following her presentation, I think we'll have a few minutes for any questions you may have.
Good almost afternoon, everybody. It's fun here in Kane County, and Camille knows one of my most favorite places in the entire state of Utah is toadstools. I've been there when there's been about 6 inches of snow and mud, and then of course summer is the best time. But I noticed Mayor Alvey in the back there. Thank you for being here. I gotta say, I've been involved in tourism, that's the bulk of my background, for many, many years. And leadership from mayors like Karen Alvey back a long time ago has brought us to today with the great leadership of Camille and Kelly. And I know we've all been shouting their praises, but I gotta say, it's so fantastic to see that Kane County is pivoting from exclusively marketing what you have, which are great tourism assets, but you're also starting to look at the active management of how you approach and service the tourism industry. So hats off to all of you. You've got great product. You've also got phenomenal people. And as Ryan mentioned, I do deal with the bulk of the southern Utah counties, and we do not have the honeymoon situation that you all have here, in that tourism folks are actually talking in the same sandbox and working actively with economic development. So again, thank you for everything you guys are doing. I remember years and years ago, when I worked for a tour operator up north, we were headed to Japan to do some work with tour operators over there. This is a long, long time ago. Dave gave me some amenities to provide to the Japanese tour operators. That was the private sector support, forward thinking tourism professionals that you all are now seeing the benefit from. So it's really fun to be here. I want to talk really briefly because I do not want to stand between all of you and lunch. So you've heard a lot about resources today. We like to try and put some of this into perspective. You see what Go Utah provides. We're the state agency. We're called conveners. So as Ryan mentioned, please reach out to us. If Kelly isn't there, he can help us find together, hopefully the answers to all of your economic development questions. The lenders are a part of this cycle. We'll talk very, very briefly about some lending programs. Higher Ed is here, as you see. Jeff Mather is here from the Small Business Development Center. I just learned Cam has joined that effort. Just so you know, the state of Utah contracts with the Small Business Development Centers to provide all of you with primarily free resources, whether it's a funding package that you need to develop, if it's pro formas that you need to put numbers with before you open your business, or you need strategy and business plans. The Small Business Development Centers are a great resource. I also got to give a shout out to one of my favorite people down here, and that's Colette Cox. She also provides these resources. These are free of charge to those of you in the business sector, whether it's for-profit or not for-profit. Association of Governments, I think I saw Nathaniel here. There he is. Your 5-county AOG has a revolving loan fund. So if you're looking at the need to finance a gap, that gap between what you're investing as a business owner and what a bank is willing to provide to you, if you need gap financing, make sure you're touching base with Nathaniel and the 5-county Area Association of Governments. State agencies, lots of acronyms, we love them, we're the government. So Department of Workforce Services, I was going to talk a little bit more about them, and I'm not sure who's here from DWS. Mark Tilby, yes, thank you. So DWS has an amazing array of direct-to-business support, whether it's research, they've got training programs, they've got financial support for hiring certain populations. Don't forget to look at DWS as a resource for your business. Organizations, you've heard from World Trade Center, Aaron's here, EDC Utah is a great resource. Your local Chamber of Commerce, again, a stellar effort from a local chamber. So many of the ones we work with are floundering right now, quite frankly. So you're so fortunate to have a group of dedicated people who want to help your business thrive. Let's see what else we got out there. The federal government, yes, the SBA helps provide loans, guarantees. They provide support to efforts like not only the SBDC, but the Women's Business Center of Utah. To wrap that up, you've got communities and counties, some of which offer incentives locally. I know Kelly's been working on a couple of different aspects, but again, the whole point of Go Utah and your local county economic development directors, chambers, we're here to help support you and your efforts. So quick highlight on those business support services through DWS. The website is jobs.utah.gov. If you need research, information, types of industries available in your county, numbers of employees, anything like that, it's an amazing resource. Custom Fit was also mentioned. I personally think it's a great opportunity and maybe not a program that's been well known throughout the state. So make sure as you look at your training needs and attending educational seminars in your particular industry, make sure you touch base with Custom Fit training. Let's talk a little bit really briefly about funding. Ryan mentioned the red TIF, Rural Economic Development Tax Increment Financing. Woo, made it through that one. So this is brand new, as Ryan mentioned. Just a quick note on the red TIF. Some of you might be familiar with the incentive very successfully by Utah, primarily up north, to gain such big deals as Adobe and Facebook. Those companies successfully used this tax increment financing concept. It's great for major projects, again, many of them up north. So we in rural struggled a little bit because we didn't have the ability to meet the requirements of that EdTIF program. So last year, Go Utah, working with the legislature, implemented some changes. Long story short, we now have the red TIF tool. There are requirements for rural opportunities. So if you're looking at a major expansion or a major new initiative, a new development, we're actually looking at some tourism-oriented developments in southern Utah that may be able to use this new tool, the red TIF. Quickly, I wanted to mention some funding resources for Kane County businesses. Obviously, your local banks, credit unions, they work with particularly SBA loans guarantees. USDA, Department of Agriculture, also provides loans and guarantees. I mentioned the revolving loan fund at the AOG. The Women's Business Center has a fairly new program called KIVA. It's small loans for the most part, but they are very easy to work with, and I would highly encourage you, if you need a small loan, look at the KIVA program through the Women's Business Center. Utah Microloan Fund program, statewide. These folks loan funds to unbankable businesses. So if you're having challenges going through regular channels, you might want to look at the Utah Microloan Fund. Of course, all of these folks have websites. Literally, you just have to Google most of them. We've developed relationships with a couple of nonprofit funding organizations. One is MoFi, and the gentleman's name is David Glazer. Is that right, Ryan? So he's been great, nonprofit headquartered, I believe, in Wyoming. They're expanding into Utah. They want to loan money in rural Utah. So you could, again, Google them, MoFi. RCAC, Rural Community Assistance Corporation. They also have a loan fund. Their whole reason to live is to provide support and resources to rural communities, but they also have, again, a loan fund program. Last but not least, crowdfunding sources. You've all heard of them, Kickstarter, GoFundMe. They have been successfully used by many businesses in rural Utah. And then there's my least favorite one, the way to help fund your business or expansion. That's called maxing out credit cards and leaning on your friends and family. So hopefully between all of these resources, something might work for you as you start to consider expansion or starting a new business. Really briefly, I'm excited about this brand new program to Go Utah called This is a program that actively supports local efforts to look at, organize, and focus on downtown revitalization. We are affiliated now with a national effort. They've been doing this for around 40 years. It's a very successful framework to help any Utah community that is interested in participating in the process. It's a great program. We now have 16 communities designated throughout the state of Utah, from up north to down south. It is a statewide program, but stay tuned to that. And of course, I hope Kanab will apply at maybe next year. Kelly, what do you think? Okay, how is the Main Street program going to help communities? A couple of different opportunities. Training technical assistance. We support your economic development locally. We do have a community grant program. The legislature, in its wisdom, gave us a bit of money, $300,000 to help support your local efforts. We're focusing on placemaking grants and what we call facade grants. So in a lot of historic older buildings, over the past 50, 60 years, the fronts of those buildings, the facades, have been changed. We're supporting with a small amount of grant funding, building owners who want to go back to that original facade. We are also providing access to resources through this coordinated Utah Main Street program. So, to end it all, just the facts, folks. Ryan and I may be faced bureaucrats here today, but we really are here to help you. So we've got lots of facts, figures, support, and resources for you. Our website is business.utah.gov. And oh my gosh, it looks like lunch is coming, Kelly.
Sorry, man, that's an awful segue. Hey, let me see one more thing, then I jump up. But I did want to just go through an exercise. So we've heard about a lot of different resource providers. Thank you to Nan, but let's just go back to Camille's shampoo hair. So I don't know where Camille went, but let's say Camille decides, I want to launch a shampoo product. She's going to dip into the entrepreneurship space, right? So she goes and meets with the Business Resource Center at SUU or at Utah Tech, right, the Atwood Innovation Plaza, and helps get a license, okay? Then she needs some assistance with a marketing plan. So she goes over and visits with Jeff and Cam, the SBDC, and they set her up. She starts her business. The first 6 months was successful, but then she encounters some hardship and says, you know what, I need to go visit with Impact Utah, and they're gonna help me with the operational process. Okay, they grow their business. A year later, they decide we want to grow internationally. Oh boy, what do we do? You know what? I remember hearing some guy named Aaron starts at the World Trade Center in Utah. I want to go visit with Aaron. Aaron and his team help provide resources to grow the business internationally. Okay. Camille says, you know, I need to be more in touch with local issues. I'm going to go to the local Chamber of Commerce event. Then Camille says, you know what, Kelly, I need some space. What can you do? Kelly says, well, I'm going to apply for a grant through the state of Utah to help build out the infrastructure in a little business park, and let's see what we can do to get some more office space here. Okay. She continues down her journey. She needs some guidance. She meets with her friends at the Women's Business Center to provide her with additional resources. She then decides that she's going to take that shampoo product and contract with the government, because the government needs shampoo desperately. So she meets with PTAC, and they help her land a government contract. Okay, then she's so excited about the government contract that she wants to commercialize it, or commercialize her product, and actually land SBIR federal grants. So she works with the Innovation Center to make that happen. And then she decides to grow her team. She hires 5 new people, but they need training, so she works closely with Custom Fit. Okay, she's so excited then that she starts to market her product and creates a commercial promoting shampoo. But where else would she film a commercial for shampoo than Kanab, Utah? So she does that at the Wave. But to get a permit, she works with Kelly Stoll, and they film the commercial, right? But then they're so excited, the tourism office is so excited that the Wave is in the background of this shampoo commercial, that they decide to use that as part of their tourism outreach. And on Instagram, people from all over the world see the Wave and this beautiful bouncy blonde hair. And they decide to come to Kanab, Utah, okay? Then, okay, this is getting a little, you get where I'm going with this, right? But finally, Kelly says, we need to build out a space on Main Street. We're gonna convert an old building. Camille moves into that building to start selling her shampoo product. And this is the full cycle. Camille gives back to the community. She gives scholarships. She hires local people. It's the cycle of local economic development. And so in case you couldn't tell, we're really passionate about serving the state, about serving rural communities. We have so many great resource providers here to serve you. So thank you. Thank you, Brian.
real world scenario, I hope it happens. I will buy some of that. Here, we appreciate all the great support that we've received from the state over the years. We're right there at the table, and the only reason why I brought up the bureaucrat thing was because Nan did mention Ed Meyer, who was in the Governor's Office of Economic Development. He would always introduce himself as a career bureaucrat. And I always didn't like that because there's so much more, and we can look out in the audience, and I know a lot of businesses that have taken advantage of these programs, and there's some new programs, and we hope that you'll be in touch and take advantage of those as well. So without further ado, we're ready for lunch, and there are box lunches in the back. Just go and grab a lunch. We really appreciate Sego and Elizabeth and Sean and their family and employees for taking care of us for lunch today. And we'll reconvene shortly. So thank you.
Hey. Yes, sir. I haven't looked into past the concept though to see, what prices are like wise. But there is a company doing it online.
Instructions on lunch. If you have a nut allergy or want a vegetarian meal, they're on the table on the far south of the right.
Snap Toy Company, they're across the street from one. Oh, really? Yeah. Really? I had a guy come through the summer to rent bikes that was telling me about he was coming from a drummer in southern Colorado. Saying, hey, you can do this in town. Didn't know anyone else could do it. Well, he kind of showed me an entity that might be contacted. I don't think anybody's making the effort, so that'd be a big addition. That even kind of small circles, I guess. I am a licensed drug type myself. Well, and that's for the drug racing stuff. I don't really ever need but I just mention it because I personally have an interest in drones. I'd love to race one. I'd love a race course, I haven't yet. I've seen a few people with them.
Very great looking house.
Yeah. I rushed out of the house so quick today. I think the one thing I forgot is my wallet. Oh no, I think it's in here. Yeah, it is there at 11 West. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. Awesome. James?
So you know where this They talked about doing a drive-through there, and it's not. Yeah, somebody else